What is up, everyone? Welcome to Xbox Ultimate Podcast, episode number 197. And yes, Xbox is still here. So are we. This is the Xbox Ultimate Podcast, and will remain to be the Xbox Ultimate Podcast. But I appreciate everybody being here. You guys absolutely rock. Even if you do call me Sniffles in the chat, I see you, OCD gamer. But for every single one of you that calls me that, I don't blame you. I blame this motherfucker here next to me on the screen, Pong Soul. It's his fault. Much like everything else in this world is 3-Bit's fault.
That's true.
But hey, it's all right. Shout out to everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys. This has been an interesting day for Xbox again, just like this whole week has been. This Gamescom week has been absolutely crazy. It's also been a crazy interesting week for PlayStation, and we'll actually talk a little bit about some of that too, because I think two things actually are relevant to Xbox that has happened with PlayStation this week. So well, maybe actually three if you count Indiana Jones. But anyway, besides that, I want to say to this panel, hey guys, it's amazing that you're here. The Fun Spec fam remains strong. Nobody is throwing their Xboxes into the rivers or oceans near our houses or anything like that. But hey, let's start with 3-Bit.
Mav, can you imagine if you had this channel for 8 years and you had 600 subs? What that would feel like? Just saying. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there, guys.
I would love every single one of them. Every single one of them would be like
what
family
happens,
to me.
What happens, Matt? What happens if you had the budget of IGN?
Oh,
and the production quality of IGN?
Yeah, what'd you do?
Then I would be asking. I would have to have a long stare in the mirror and ask myself, what did I do wrong? And we have to have some self-contemplation moments as well.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I had to start the show that way. I apologize.
No, it's amazing. There's been several Xbox podcasts today that probably had more concurrent viewers than actually Concord had.
Players on Concord.
That was crazy to think. That's absolutely crazy to think. Like for concurrent,
it still hasn't beat Pentiment's concurrent peak.
It hasn't beat Pentiment.
No, Pentiment had 1,200 concurrent.
Wow, dude, I feel actually bad for the developers. Like,
again, we are not that crew that like wants games to fail. Like that's not what this is.
But
about.
It can still be funny sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Again, especially when you find out 8 years,
right?
And these are veteran devs from Destiny, and this is what you get.
Yeah, it's like what happened. This game will be studied as like,
oh yeah,
how does this happen? How do we not let this happen? You know, we actually had a over under last night where we were trying to figure out if on launch day if it was going to be able to break 10,000. I was being optimistic. It's not even like 1,000. Like
no,
that's just
they should have made it free to play. Crazy, man.
Oh man!
Crazy. You think the beta?
We can hope for 10,000.
Yeah. Sorry, we're getting time. We'll jump into that for sure. I do want
to. Obviously it's an Xbox podcast, but like because of the games of service aspect to this with PlayStation and all the game service games on PlayStation from Xbox and stuff, I think it's a relevant question to see. Like part of a conversation I want to have later is like, is PlayStation going to be able to figure this out? Like, are they going to keep having to rely on Xbox's games and other games for second and third party things for their monetization and ongoing revenue streams for microtransactions and all these other kind of things? Because like there's fail after fail there, right? But anyway, let's get into the intros to the panel. The one and only 3-Bit. What's up, dude? How's it going, man?
Hey, yo. It's pretty good. Busy week. Been working quite a bit on several things, several commercials, getting into a lot of 3D stuff this week. So hopefully I can pop that on my timeline. Probably, if not tomorrow, probably the day after. You guys will see some Unreal Engine things. So that's going to be really cool. And besides that, I've been watching Game of Thrones. Something did happen. I was telling them behind the scenes. So my window did shatter from a guy doing my grass. So that's going to be fixed. That was unfortunate. But besides that, it's been a good week for me. But Xbox, we'll get into all the shenanigans that's happening around the Twitterverse and what's been going on. And I do want to talk about the Concord thing. That's interesting. But appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. You guys have been hopping around different shows with me and Fuzzy. Appreciate y'all. And let's get into it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. It's always amazing when you can join us for Ultimate. Fuzzy Belvedere, how are you doing, sir?
Great. Glad to be here with you guys. I haven't been paying attention to Gamescom quite as much as I would like, so I've been playing some catch up as far as watching some of the live streams and things like that. But been on one of those road trips earlier in the week and got to see some former porn stars. But well, that's a story for another time.
Yes,
But
you did.
outside of that, still enjoying playing Forza Horizon 5. They got some new modes coming to it as well. I'm gonna probably wind up collecting one of my favorite cars later this week, being the Lucid Air Sapphire. So there's that. Still playing Diablo because this season they've continued with a lot of the fan service, I guess you could say, as far as making the quote unquote grind a lot easier or a lot more less grindy, I guess you could say. So still enjoying that, but outside of that, man, just looking forward to getting to some of these topics. And no doom and gloom. Let's avoid the doom and gloom as we usually do. But it is what it is.
Can we at least have a little bit of doom and gloom? Like just what, like tiny bit? No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, we haven't really been on that train all year when everybody else has. And it's been an interesting year, that's for sure, for Xbox.
Yep.
Pong, we had a long discussion about this last night, and all these craziness going on this week. But how's it going tonight? Doing good?
Yeah, it's going, man. It's going. Doing pretty good. Yeah, not a whole lot to add. I tried Atlas Fallen. I did play that for about an hour and a half. That just dropped into Game Pass. Steele had a great time. Steele was day one on that and picked it up and played through it.
I remember seeing him stream it.
Yeah, he did. And he really liked the game. And they just added an expansion, a free expansion too, which is included obviously with Game Pass because it's free. So you get the expansion as well. So I just started playing it. Cool game. So far, so good. Combat's got parries and dodges, but it's certainly definitely not Souls-like. Otherwise, I wouldn't be saying it's great. But I enjoying the combat, enjoying the movement so far. I'm just starting to they ramp you up as you learn your skills and that kind of stuff, get you into the story. There is a character creator. It's definitely AA. I don't think of it like AAA. It reminds me early on, Mav, of Darksiders, right? Which is great, which is really good. That's the vibe I get a lot from this game. So, but the story overall is pretty dope so far. So I tried that out. Otherwise, like I said last night, this week's been mainly First Descendant, continuing to grind because I want to get VS's special haircut out of the special store. So I maxed out the battle pass, and now I've opened up the second level of the secret store. It's not really secret, it's sitting there, but you got to earn credits by doing challenges. And so I've been working on that nonstop along with grinding for Luna to open her up. Love the First Descendant. I'm not doing it just because. I'm doing it because I actually love the game. Again, I've dropped the developers two caches, right? So I'm definitely supporting them because I love what they're doing out there. So having a great time with the First Descendant, man. I'm getting ready because like we talked about last night, I also did re-download Need for Speed Unbound too. I didn't realize that they have battle pass systems now though, Mav, and you got to pay for the battle pass.
Oh yeah, for the online. Yeah,
it's like $9 for the premium pass where the cop skins and stuff are at. I don't know. I gotta look at it some more, but I was like, really EA, this is what we're doing. But anyways,
you play it on you install it on Xbox or on PC?
Yeah, Xbox. Yeah, I installed it on Xbox. So Like I said, like we talked about last night, we're coming up to a stretch run here. This is where it all begins, right? And it's going to start with Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaw, and of course, early access because I'm going to join Ubisoft Plus. So that is 4 days away. So Tuesday next week, I will be starting a Star Wars adventure with KVS and see how that goes. Again, I've been high on that game ever since day one. Nothing's changed it. I know there's been a lot of talk around that game. Some people not liking what they're seeing for a variety of reasons. I've stayed the course. I still think that this game is a Star Wars game for me. So I can't wait to check it out. If my opinion changes once I play it, I'll let you all know. You know that. But I'm looking forward to that next week. And also the 28th, the end of next week, is Age of Mythology Retold. Early access goes live as well. So next week is going to be New Game Week. But obviously First Descendant is going to stay in the rotation with the Battle Pass and with the seasons and with opening up characters. But I'm going to be playing some new games starting next week for damn sure. So I can't wait. But that's about it, man. Otherwise, we got a lot to talk about. 30 frames is back in vogue again. So let's go.
So we have to have this conversation.
30 frames.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
I actually hit Cog up today in the DMs too. So
Yeah, I watched his video of the interview, and it was pretty clear as day what they said there.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, and I hit him up just to see, you know, anything afterward, anything extra and that kind of stuff. He was nice enough to give me a he actually voice recorded for almost 2.5 minutes and talked to me back about some of my questions and stuff in the background. Cog's awesome. You guys all know that.
Amazing.
So but yeah, 30 frames is back in vogue again, and we've got even more weird reasoning, like first person. You don't need more than 30 frames in first person. Oof, man. Anyways, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that allows them to do more things.
Our life is in 30 frames, so we don't need more than that.
You're right.
That's the last thing they worry about.
Yeah.
I will
It sounded great otherwise, though. There's tons of hyper. Again, Avowed is getting, we talked about that too.
Amazing previews besides that.
Yeah, there's a ton of good stuff. And like I said, Cog did give me some more insight too about the game because he played it for about 40 minutes as well. And he is freaking hyped. He's an Obsidian fan like me. So we'll talk about that more too. So
it's definitely one of the most anticipated games for me. I love Western RPGs, especially in the fantasy genre. So haven't been able to wait for it, but if that does transpire and it launches at 30 frames on console, what will happen is I will be playing it at launch on PC.
Yep. I'll try it on console, but otherwise,
the majority of the time I'll be on PC, and then I'll play on console occasionally, and then when it's updated, then I'll switch over to console primarily. It's kind of what happened with Starfield. But that Starfield is the reason why I got the PC in the first place, just specifically for that reason. But now even a Series S can run Starfield at 60 frames.
Sure can.
Even a Series S can, which apparently some developers hate optimizing for it. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's another thing that's been going around today. Let's get to some super chats. Alvin, member for Alvin 2 long years. Shout out to Alvin. Choo-choo. With the $5 super chat says Concord with a late upset of Olympian ray gun for worst performance of the year. Wow.
Oof.
Maybe that one will be remembered longer than the other, though. I think everybody's always going to remember ray gun. Even the 15 minutes of fame, I think, is going to be a memory that a lot of us have for a long time. Concord, I think, is going to be shut down probably in a year or less. We'll see, though.
Like Foam Stars.
8 months.
What's going on with Foam Stars? No, it's got to still be online. Is Outriders online? Outriders is still online, right?
Yeah.
And that was another Square published game, so I assume that they'll still support Foam Stars for a little while. But Square did shut down Babylon's Fall.
Yes. Yeah. Instantaneous.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know the player counts, man. I don't know. But I'll say that 600 ain't good on launch day. Anyway, Alvin, also member for 2 years with a $2 super chat, says Redfall Steam concurrent high is 9 times Concord. Remember how many articles and how many games media and everybody was shit talking Redfall on launch day and pointing out what an epic failure this was for Xbox, how they can do no right, how this is just another link in a series of bad events to Xbox. Xbox is never going to succeed. Redfall is horrible. Redfall is this and that. And we were disappointed in the launch of Redfall as well.
Absolutely.
But where is the games media talking about this same thing that we're discussing in Concord?
Xbox's worst live service game performed better.
Where are they? Where are they with it? Like, I've only seen a couple start to point it out. Be like, oh, this can't be right.
Has a lot of reviews come out yet? Like
5.
No.
I've only seen like 5.
Yeah.
No.
They didn't obviously.
That's
Where's
crazy,
all the
man.
talk about? Hey, where's been the review
We must
codes,
take
the
our
embargoes? Oh, wow, we're so concerned about this game because they didn't give everybody early access to review this game. Where was all the conversation with that as well? It didn't
put in
exist.
the same spot with Black Myth Wukong having major problems on PlayStation 5 that everybody's trying to ignore right now. And they're not doing reviews on the PlayStation 5 version, seemingly waiting for the patch, which Game Science just came out today and said, ooh, it's going to be a long road to get a patch because the PlayStation 5 is bottlenecked. Where's all the articles about that? Because the PlayStation 5 community was trying to claim that Black Myth Wukong was running flawless. And now it's come out flat out after Digital Foundry broke it down. Then all of a sudden people started checking it out. Oh, no. There's massive problems on the PlayStation 5 with Black Myth Wukong, but there's no articles.
There's more articles about a game that's not out for 6 months in Avowed in its performance, which has not been even actually proven to be exactly what it's going to be at launch yet, than there is actually with a game that is out today, which is the biggest game launch of the year, and it's a timed exclusive by default on PlayStation, actually having legitimate performance issues, and there's no articles about that. So this is actually happening on one of the biggest games, on a game that many of the media and PlayStation themselves is touting as this is a timed exclusive for us this year now. And nobody's reporting on that aspect.
Yeah.
Nobody's reporting on the fact that Concord didn't get review codes out early or anything like that. Nobody's reporting on the fact that nobody's even playing the damn game. And I was trying to figure out why. And I think it's because the only people who have been promoting and tweeting about this game is actually the games media themselves. So they're probably the 600 people online busy to actually make any kind of report on this. They're all like, hey, this is amazing. We're all playing with each other. This is great. Let's just have our own little Games Media Concord game. We own this game ourselves. Let's just pretend like everything's cool here, guys. So we live in our own little PlayStation media bubble and within Concord multiplayer servers. That and the developers are probably playing it. So they're having a grand old time. 600 on Steam. And who knows, maybe another 600 on PlayStation? Maybe a little bit more. Maybe, I have no idea.
I'm just really wondering with PlayStation's roadmap, what games do they plan on having that is multiplayer, that is live service? Is it going to be any
Xbox games?
Yeah.
Xbox is their new roadmap at this
Correct.
point?
Well, that's what I wanted to
for
get
those
into.
types of games specifically. Yes. Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted to get into because, like, the part that I saw how this kind of ties into Xbox is like this is a new IP for them. This is them trying to get into that. This is them trying their hardest, to make this long time in development, important IP according to them. Remember, they came out and said how important this game is for them and how it was going to be a big deal and all this other kind of stuff. And coming out and just having one of the most disastrous launches for any first-party game I can ever remember, actually. Like, this is just really, 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 really bad. And how are they going to use this information and correct things? What are they going to do? Like, are they going to keep trying, or are they
This
going to
just proved
say
to me that they don't understand live service games.
Well,
Like
it's hard. I mean, it's terribly hard. I mean,
it is
right?
hard, but like
It is. But they
it's
had success too, 3-bit with Helldivers 2, right?
sure,
But they
yeah.
but
But
Arrowhead's
even
now
that,
fumbled. Arrowhead has now fumbled away Helldivers 2.
Yep.
Dramatically, in dramatic fashion, by doing we're gonna fuck with what everybody's having fun with, and we're just gonna go ahead and take that fun away and nerf the shit out of everything. And that's gonna be cool because we need balance in a game that is totally needs to be balanced when it's PvE. See, they're learning their lessons very early on here. But yeah, no, I think it is fair to say that especially these days in 2024 with the competition, it is difficult to do this. But a game for 8 years in the development with experienced developers from Destiny coming out with a game like Concord and thinking that this was going to hit and having internal confidence in this game over Factions 2 and over Twisted Metal, over a Spider-Man MMO. Are you fucking nuts, Herman Holst?
that's what I mean though. Like, how
Yeah.
could you internally
Yes.
think that this game is going to be such a huge success, and then you cancel like a Spider-Man Online or like a Last of Us? Like that, just to me, the IP alone would carry a lot of players, you know, and to the fact that you're like, oh, this is it, this is the big game, you know, this is, I don't know, that to me that just spells out that you don't really understand not only live service game, but what would be successful, looking at your internal metrics of like, I don't know, like there's a lot of people
Absolutely.
behind the scenes when you make a game, right? There's a artist, of course, but there's the people above the artists who are like strategists and look at the money, look at the numbers of what a game when it releases, how successful could it be? And I feel like that department is, I don't know, they're off.
To that point, let me add to your point right there, 3-bit.
Yep.
And you know better than the rest of us because you've been kind of inside, obviously. So you probably have seen some of the numbers or how they look at things, right? But my biggest question right now is, if this is on Herman, right? If Herman is now the man, right? He takes the responsibility of this shit. Okay.
Right.
And I don't care if Jim started it. I don't care any of that. We played fair here. Like, we criticize everybody across the board how it's supposed to be. So this is Herman's fault. This is massive mismanagement, 3-bit. To your point, after witnessing the beta numbers, they knew the pre-sale numbers on this game. And there is no way in hell, with GameStop offering one trade-in $25 value game or greater, they give you Concord, that Sony themselves did not know the numbers after the beta were awful. And that the game was being sent out to die at $40, to not make a massive U-turn and make a different decision on how you were going to approach this game at that point shows me that the mismanagement, because they don't fully grasp what they're doing yet in this space anymore, right? They have no clue. Because if I was Herman and I saw those numbers, I would have been like, whoa, time out. We ain't launching like this. Okay. Because there's no point. We're sending you guys out to die. We spent 8 years of development time giving you guys resources. We need to think how we are going to launch this game. And free to play, whatever you had to do, but there had to be some kind of change there. But sorry, 3-bit, I didn't mean to jump in. But again, just hearing you talk, I know you've seen some of that stuff internally, and I think that's kind of what you were speaking to. Like, how did they miss the mark so badly with this one? Like,
the point of a open beta is not just to see, not just to test the game, right? It's not just to be like, let's see how our servers are handling the players. It's also almost an internal usually, right? It's like an internal metric of like, how well can this game do on its actual release? And I just feel like there had to be mismanagement there, because how could you look at those numbers and like, oh, it's bad, but and release it anyways. I don't know what the communication was there, especially when you realize like when they bought Bungie, what the statement was like, oh, we bought Bungie to learn about live service titles or whatever the statement was at the time. It really just goes into like Sony is really strong in other departments, whether it's their hardware right now, their marketing in other areas, but live service is an area whether it's where it's possibly underfunded or just not a lot of people there, or they just really don't understand live service games. It's not like a necessarily a dig. I just think they need to have a better live service department or whatever is going on there, because the fact that you had potentially you had some games that had the potential to have way more players in Concord, and you canceled those. And you had Spider-Man, you had Last of Us factions that was years in development, by the way. It's not just like it was like, oh yeah, we only worked on it for a few months, let's cancel it. Last of Us factions, according to the developers, it was pretty close to release, and you chose to cancel
over 4
that
years.
and put Concord. Yeah,
over 4 years.
Ridiculous. Yeah, yeah.
From
I
one
can
of
go
your
into
most
that for a while.
expensive studios, too.
Yeah.
Right?
So
their contracted workers at Naughty Dog, I can guarantee you, are more expensive than Firewalk workers, right? I guarantee.
Yeah.
Well, I can guarantee you one thing: they're not worried about overloading the servers on Concord.
I know. They don't have to worry about server space. You're right.
Yeah. So they got to be happy about that at least.
But you know what? If they spent so much time on this game that they have to keep going. Like if you want your live service game to be successful, you got to keep supporting it.
That's what the question was before when we started talking about them. If one of their big games as a service games comes out and utterly flops, are they going to do the same thing that Microsoft does and continue to support it until it turns into something or until it actually sees improvement? Or are they going to just move on and give up? What do you think, Fuzz?
They're definitely going to move on, because even some of their multiplayer service-based games that were somewhat successful at a time but then fall off a cliff, like Drive Club, they killed that within like a 2-year period after launch. They closed the studio and started dialing back a lot of the content as well as the server. So what was it, Gravity Rush? I don't think it was directly their studio that did it, but they were the ones, I guess, footing the bill for it. After a while, it didn't meet the numbers I guess they wanted. They closed it. Riggs, one of their VR games, they did the same thing, and they've done that with a couple other ones that they've had over the years. So if a game isn't making money for them immediately or shortly thereafter, it's like cut ties, close things down, scale it back, keep the lights on until people start complaining if that the lights are dim or something along those lines. But if nobody's complaining, all right, yeah, next week pull the plug, type of thing. Kind of like what they did with the whole PS3 store. It's like people complained. All right, we'll keep it open for. They didn't say a time frame, but they kept it open for like another 3 months because people still weren't buying in the PS3 store. So, yeah, I don't understand how they let factions not come out. Like that one had probably closer or somewhat close to 8 years as well, because of originally it was supposed to be with The Last of Us 2, and then it was split. And I'm pretty sure they had that idea not too far after Last of Us 1, where it was like a storyboard thing. There was some time and a lot of resources invested in that at a time when a scam of a game was like the most wishlisted game, which was the day before. So it's like you have that perfect combination of like having kind of like this extraction. You could make it like an extraction shooter because of the human versus human fights, the PvP aspect that you would have. And then you have the infected, which are your zombie-esque, I forget what they really call them, but they're basically, fungus head kind of, zombie things. That in itself would have probably netted more people in a beta test in the first hour than probably Concord will do in its lifetime. Like, I don't see why they didn't at least hold on to that one and put it out there. Like, okay, it may not be Bungie qualified or certified or whatever, but put it out there. Let your fan base give you feedback on where to go, what direction to take it. Maybe it needs to be more like The Division where you're extracting stuff in the dark zone, or maybe it needs to be more like Escape from Tarkov, or whatever the case may be. Even if it's just a reiteration with, you know, pretty paint and pictures of the original factions, just do that, and I guarantee you it would have been a more successful game than what this with Concord would ever be. Like if people at Sony weren't paying attention when Lawbreakers hit that platform, then what are they doing? Like, they had all the numbers to look at Lawbreakers. They saw how big of a failure that was. That is the arena style shooter, hero shooter kind of setup. And I think Lawbreakers had at least a little bit more of a gimmick with the whole gravity aspect of it. Like, that to me seemed more interesting than these Guardians of the Galaxy things. Like, if this was a co-op Guardians of the Galaxy made up game, I think this would actually do a lot correct. But
winner,
like,
had they made this a full sci-fi co-op shooter with a story, you're absolutely correct, Fuzz. You're absolutely correct. Yep.
Why did they not go with that? Like that, like, I don't know. It just feels like whether it was Jim Ryan that kind of screwed the pooch with the whole, you need 10 or 12 games as a service, or whatever the case may be. It's clear to me now, you know, Xbox's strategy of put things like Sea of Thieves on PlayStation might be not just them earning money, but, you know, kind of help a brother out kind of thing. Like, we don't know how to make these games. Can you put at least a couple of them over here? You got all these games. we just need like a couple. Just put them in my hand. Pour it in my hand kind of thing. I don't know. It just feels weird at this point. And the company that used to have multiplayer games, yeah, they've kind of did a hiatus on it, has completely, like, either they're not paying attention to what other platforms are doing on their platform, or they're just oblivious on how to even mimic that. Like, you would think even mimicking it would be a better attempt than what this is. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And the expectations are pretty different too. Like, let's say you had a game of the year game like Halo compared to Last of Us. They both won a lot of awards, and you had multiplayer in Halo 2, for example. And then let's say Halo 3, like, let's get rid of the multiplayer out of nowhere. And that's pretty much what they did with Last of Us. Last of Us 1 had multiplayer. So the expectation, you'll be like, okay, well, it's a bigger game, right? It's a bigger game. They're going bigger with the story. They're going bigger multiplayer modes, etc. And then the next one comes out, and you're just like, let's get rid of the multiplayer. Like, you would think it advances as a brand, as a game with more features from the previous game, or builds upon it, but it's like silence, like nothing. It's just crazy to me. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, if you look at like some of the biggest disaster launches in the last several years for Xbox, what are some that come to mind? For there's Redfall is the big one.
Redfall,
like
that's like
one that people pointed to that had come out soon after the Ninja Theory acquisition was Bleeding Edge, right? That it was an online multiplayer game that didn't get really any traction and stuff. It had that game, even as like little as it was marketed or talked about or even mentioned, it was just kind of like this like small thing that they did, still had a higher peak so far than Concord, which is like supposed to be kind of a big deal for them, which is kind of like that's the interesting thing. Like, where's all the games media discussion about the epic failure of this for the launch of Concord? And I really want to see that, because that
can happen.
It's so crazy to me.
But it's just like that. There's no roadmap. And again, they talked about forever how Xbox first party wasn't delivering, and now we have this huge gap in Sony, and nobody's talking about it. It's fine. It's fine. It's no big deal. Show's coming. Show's coming, guys. Some point. Show's coming. Don't worry.
The secret second showcase in September.
I mean, again, we already know. We already know. It has been obvious from the get-go, again, who the popular kids are and who the nerdy kids are. This is very clicky. It's always been this way, and it's going to continue. It's not going to change just because Sony's having a rough go. It's not. They're going to get the backing no matter what. And it doesn't matter how nice Xbox is now, how they're going third party, how it makes Jeff Keighley smile to be able to announce Indiana Jones on PS5. None of that's going to change how people feel about Xbox. It's not. They're never going to win over the media like they did during the 360 era again. It's just not going to be that case. It sucks because they've done so much good that they have gotten zero credit for, or it's always been dismissed as, oh yeah, but look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
Again, just like all the layoffs when Xbox did them or Microsoft did them, it was laid at Xbox's feet, even though a lot of it was just Microsoft in general and the whole tech industry was doing it. It's just Microsoft is so gigantic. And everybody knew it was coming after the ABK deal. Everybody knows that's going to happen. But when other people do it, an article here, an article there. But when it's Microsoft and Xbox, this is the whole entire problem. Oh my God, corporate greed. Look at all this shit. Like
they don't know how to run their studios. That's
mismanagement all over the place. No mismanagement for Sony though. Even though they've showed massive problems, they've closed studios, canceled projects now left and right. Same things going on, but no mismanagement questions over there. All, glowing praise for Jim Ryan on his way out the door. No questions about what Jim left behind and what a mess he might have made at Sony.
At the time when he left,
right.
we said on all of the shows, like he got out because he saw the shitstorm ahead.
Or Hiroki said, "You've done enough, Jim. Thanks."
Yeah, and he was like, "I'm all right. Bye. This has been real. Hey, everybody, look forward to Concord. It's going to be a smash hit.
It's always going to be this way. To be, exactly that as well. And again, I think there's criticism to be fair. I mean, to be had. And again, this isn't about Concord. Again, we're not those shows here. We have never been those shows that wanted games to fail just because we don't like them. I don't think any of us are like that whatsoever. And again, the devs put in 8 years of hard work. Again, I can question and critique and go, what the hell was 8 years spent on? Right. But that doesn't take away from the fact these people are real people in their jobs. And again, I'm not so jaded to think that devs honestly don't try to make a good game, right? We can look and go, why the hell would you ever think this is going to be a good way? Why did you make these decisions? But at the same time, internally, I don't think they're going, oh, man, we're going to really fuck this game up. It's going to be shit when it comes out. That's what we're going for. Hell no, of course not. They're trying to make the best damn game they possibly can. And I want to see more games succeed. Again, competition's great. But I just think that obviously when you look at the back and forth here and how the media portrays each side and what's gone on, again, it's not the same, man. It never will be the same. I was just going to say, to bring it back to Xbox, I've said it multiple times. It's not a joke. Me and Steele, I mean, we laugh about it because it's so ridiculous. But now, where we're at in 2024, it's not ridiculous anymore. Phil, it's time to unleash the Titans, bro. You got to give these guys Halo and Gears, okay? They need multiplayer games, bro. Bad. You already started. Give them the big boys. Unleash the Titans on their ecosystem. Let these people play good, great, amazing shooters for once, please. Just give them to them, let them have them, and let's get the player bases up for all the games, and let's go forward, man. Because you guys are already going to dominate their sales charts eventually in that ecosystem with all these games you guys are going to drop over there. You're going to start dropping Elder Scrolls 6 over there. It's going to dominate the sales chart like nobody's business. It's going to dominate the metrics across the board. Everything. Call of Duty, everything. Just do it, Phil. Halo, Gears, get it over there. Let's go.
As we said before, when we started talking about this, when we're trying to guess the game that it could be and ended up being Indiana Jones, we speculated about Halo or these other things, and in the future, you said that Gears would probably be there day and date and stuff as well. I still think they're the people that have ignored those franchises for so long because they're just only PlayStation players and they haven't cared about Xbox, and they always just heard that these games are shit or these games are whatever or all this other kind of stuff. The second that those people that actually get to experience Halo or Gears multiplayer, their minds will be fucking blown because they have never experienced anything within a remote percentage of quality and fun that those games bring multiplayer wise from PlayStation first party, and not even in the same fucking universe, right?
It's like,
And
well, I can play with other people.
like
Amazing.
they get those games and this will be like,
Yeah, they did.
what? This is actually what we could have been playing. And meanwhile, when those games launch on Xbox, we're like, hey, it's just missing this. It's so horrible that you're missing this one feature. How could you possibly do this to us? You're fans. How could you possibly not have Forge at launch or this co-op that has all this other shit? And you deserve to fail. How dare you? You know, like all these things. And it's like, compare that to what shit they're eating for multiplayer on the other side. And it's like, accepted. They actually legitimately had The Last of Us launch that was promised with multiplayer. Oh, hey guys, we're not going to be able to have it there at launch, but it's coming later. I promise. It's coming later. We're going to get you your factions. It's coming. Oh, hey, guess what, everybody? Surprise. We decided to make factions into a much bigger thing than we ever even planned. Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be bigger than any of our actual single player games. We're putting so much time and effort into this. Just be patient and wait for it. It's going to be worth it. Oh, by the way, it's also separate now from the other Last of Us. It's kind of its own thing. Everybody's like, okay, here's some concept art to keep you waiting. Oh, hey, guess what, guys? We took a look at things. We decided to cancel that shit because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. When Bungie came over, they were like, hey, this is going to suck ass. We need to cancel it. So we're like, okay, that's fine. Then we decided, hey, guess what? Bungie actually doesn't know what the fuck they're doing either. So we're just going to fire almost the entire team and then no longer work on the other projects. Instead, we're just going to hope to God Marathon works out. Because if not, guys, we're fucking fucked. I don't know what to say. We are so fucked. We're absorbing Bungie now. They had lost their autonomy, all this other kind of stuff. You know, hey, but things are good. Hey, we got this game called Concord coming out. And it's going to be huge.
Huge flop.
That's the shit that people are swallowing over there and spew all the time. It's ass piss. That's what it is. It is like it is garbage. But it's fine. Like, you know, it's fine because nobody talks about it. Games media, it's pass. It's pass. Hey, it's good. They tried their hardest. It's a shame that this game didn't meet the expectations. Oh God, why aren't we playing this game? It's incredible. Everybody should support this game. His developers deserve it. Everybody needs to be playing Concord. It's so great. Oh, it's such a shame. Like, oh, poor devs. Xbox has a game that does 10 times better than this at launch. How the fuck could they possibly even remotely allow something like this to happen?
Yeah, I remember the
That's
articles
insane.
of Starfield that came out like oh, this game. They literally had an article. There's like everyone already stopped talking about Starfield as they wrote an article about Starfield. Like it's just the contradictory messages you'll get about Xbox that don't realize the titan that Xbox is in a lot of different ways is actually really interesting. And how PlayStation has to compete is very interesting because apparently it's not going to be live service games, or it could be in the future. It's going to be their partnerships with just natural partnerships that they have, like Black Myth Wukong that just happened, or they say it just happened, but I'm reading articles where Microsoft is like subtly throwing shade, like, hey, they have a license for this game. Like they're just basically trying to say that. I don't know. We'll see what's true, but how PlayStation basically has to compete is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to fucking rely on Xbox, Microsoft games of service games to stay with their ongoing money. Like Call of Duty, Diablo, Minecraft. They got fucking like what's gonna make the most money for them this year besides Black Myth Wukong? Obviously, is doing really well as well, but it's gonna be Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, or Black Ops 6. It's gonna make them so much money, right?
The
And
next full game will be probably Call of Duty
as
on PlayStation.
but like, who holds it in the long term if that continues to be the thing, and they keep having to rely on third party, second party, free to play games from other developers, other publishers, and they Microsoft keeps infiltrating with their games of service games and keeps having them be in the top 10, like you were saying last night, Pong, and that continues to happen. All these things, the Trojan horse effect. Who holds the most leverage at that point? The company that's actually making the content, that's making the money, or the platform itself in which they're deciding to put it on? At that point, it's a partnership. It's a partnership where each side is important, and there has to be give and take within those things. And the more successful your games are, the more money it makes, the more leverage you have, right? And that is what Microsoft right now actually has an advantage of, and they're continuing to do that with these big multiplayer games and stuff. So it's going to be interesting. There's probably more concurrent players on Sea of Thieves right now on PlayStation than there is actually playing Concord. Like, it's crazy.
It's the Trojan horse. Like, you when you start putting Xbox games on PlayStation, it's just interesting, right? Like, for a while, we're like, what is the power of exclusives? Like, how many people are you bringing on the back end when you have an exclusive? Basically, you are trying to bring players in through another way. You're saying, like, you can only play on this box, which can lead to more hardware sales. Microsoft's playing in the battle like, well, we're expanding out our ecosystem, so here are other ways people can access our games, and we can also get money from a variety of ways rather than just keeping it to one box. Now, Sony's strategy has been the box. It's like, you can only play this on PlayStation, and this is our strategy. You come to PlayStation. I cannot say PlayStation today. It's crazy. To play these games, essentially, this is the only way you can play these games. Xbox is saying, like, hey, our subscription is more important. It's like two different strategies that Xbox is doing and that PlayStation. Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna say PS from now. PlayStation.
PlayStation
There's
is as
two
accurate as
different
well.
strategies. Yeah. There's two different strategies essentially going on. Xbox is really relying on making sure that subscriptions are high. Game Pass is the deal, and that you are getting in. If you're playing on PC, cool, they get money. Playing on Xbox, cool. Eventually Switch. They are expanding out their ecosystem, and I think what Sony is realizing is that, wow, maybe we need to figure out how to do that, and that's why Jim Ryan was so adamant about having so many live service games. It's like they started reading the tea leaves, as some might say, and realize, like, hey, it's not recurring money. Like, people buy a single player game, they're not continuously investing in the game. It's like they bought it, they played it, cool, right? And then it's over. But if you play in a live service game, you might buy skins, you might invest in the battle pass. There's a lot that goes into a live service game, where people continuously play, and that means you get more money, and that's something Sony hasn't figured out yet, and something Xbox has pretty much figured out very early on. Like 360 days, they've almost mastered a lot of live service games with Halo, Gears of War, and all these different stuff. So we'll see which strategy. Like, we have already seen Hiroki Totoki talk about, like, how we shouldn't be focusing on hardware sales. We should start focusing on software in a lot of ways, and subscription, things like that is stuff we need to focus on. You don't really see a lot of articles talk about that or focus on the strategy of Sony. They just embrace whatever Sony is doing and say, yay. But Sony, they are seeing that they can't afford to compete on the same level, though, as Xbox. That's what I find is interesting. Like, Microsoft has put all their eggs in the Game Pass bucket, $70 billion worth, and they can do this strategy. Sony can't necessarily do the Game Pass strategy, so
Yeah, well,
we'll see.
we'll see. I mean, like Xbox already has tons of successful games and service games over there. There'll be even more to come in the future. But like overall, yeah, they have way more successful multiplayer ongoing games than PlayStation has especially after this failure. This was a good chance for them. We'll see how Fair Games does. That'll be the next one. But overall, hey, yeah, again, feel bad for the devs a little bit, but at the same point, if we're gonna give Xbox the flack when they have a failure at launch, PlayStation deserves the flack for what's happening here as well. Like they set this game up for failure, and could have been a success if things were different, but they didn't handle it properly. Like Pong said, Herman Hulst should take ownership of it, much like Phil did with the Redfall launch. You sit up there and stage an interview that same week with Kind of Funny that had already been scheduled, and he was like, hey, this is on us, this is on me, like all this kind of stuff. And Redfall is a game that had been in development for a long time before, obviously, they even owned Arcane Austin at the time. And this has been in development at PlayStation, which Herman Hulst has been the head of the PlayStation Studios, right, for years. So this is something that they should take ownership for and figure out how to handle. And I hope they continue to try and support it to help establish a player base and figure it out. Maybe a few months later, change it to free to play. Something, things other companies have done to try and salvage these games, instead of just shutting them down. Right? We'll see what they do.
What is did I ever say Indiana Jones was a live service game?
No.
I've
never heard you say that.
Okay. Just making sure. Some peeps in the chat.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, we said that Xbox is bringing live service games to
PlayStation,
but
they have a ton of different games, and also live service games that they just happen to be good at. And I don't know what he's talking about. Timings. Yeah. I'm just gonna.
It's all right. So we have a couple super chats and stuff to get to. Brandon Martin hit us earlier because he has become a speculator. Welcome to the speculator train, Mr. Brandon Martin. You're absolutely awesome. Choo choo, motherfucker, choo choo. Then Chris Jones hit us with a $10 super chat. Choo choo, choo choo. All right. Chris Jones hit us with a $10 super chat and said, the 29th will be 1 year since the announcement of the Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters delay. No news at all. Where's my shit, Konami? LOL. By the way, play some COD with Caitlin Mav. Oh, yeah. She put out a tweet that's counted the days that it's been since I've played Call of Duty with her. I didn't believe it had been as long as she said, but it turns out it was true. Although I have a little bit of excuses. I almost died from my sickness.
From your sniffles.
I was waiting for that. Leave it to Chris Jones, the super generous Chris Jones, to come up with a random JRPG super chat. Love it, Chris. Appreciate you, bro. Micah Ford, member for, holy shit, does this actually say 38 months?
Wow.
Dude, that is crazy. Sometimes I see some of these numbers for memberships, like for continuous members, it just blows my mind. 38 months, Micah Ford. What's good, speculators? What's good, Micah? Hope you're doing well, as usual, sir. Then Brandon Martin with the $2 says Sony needs to bring back Resistance and Killzone. Yes, and SOCOM.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Siphon Filter. And Sly Cooper. And Infamous.
Yeah.
There's tons of franchises I'd like to see Sony bring back.
Resistance, Sly Cooper. I want to see Jax come back. Jack and Daxter. There's a lot. There's a lot that can come back.
Would say MotorStorm, but they closed that studio and then they became part of EA eventually.
Yeah, MotorStorm.
Bring back Mag.
Mag. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mag. Yeah.
Multiplayer action gun game. Yeah, that's when they were experimenting with multiplayer a lot back then, man. They were trying a bunch of different things. Sony needs to. Oh, I already read that one. Alvin, member for 2 years with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Alvin says 10:35 p.m. today. Call of Duty 2003 Twitch viewers 4.7K. Concord Twitch viewers 2.2K. Well, at least Concord had more viewers curious about the game than they did people playing it.
That's still awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on
Dang.
launch day, for sure. Yeah, the launch day is atrocious.
Nobody was excited. I went on Twitch too. Alvin's not the only one. When I was at work, I went on Twitch real quick just to check out. And like the top streamer that was streaming Concord had like 200 people watching. That was like the top one.
Wow.
Yeah, on launch day, usually
Yeah,
Just
for,
like going in a.
That also means just nobody's curious either.
yeah.
Like like even people like on the like you're not even bringing in people to go, oh well, maybe it's not as bad as I heard, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to go check it out. Somebody playing it. You don't even have that. From this
You
game.
basically just have a peak, like someone walking around.
There's so many games that have like very little interest that like if somebody streams it and there's not that many people. Like what was we did a stream for Dark Alliance. Remember that? We did a stream for Dark Alliance launch.
Yep.
And like there was like not many people, I guess, streaming it or whatever. So we had like 1,000 people or something concurrent, like watching our stream for Dark Alliance. And that was like a game that got horrible reviews.
Yes.
That a lot of people just were like ignoring and all these other kind of things, but we were excited about it because it was like a, D&D style, like co-op dungeon
Some of my favorite
crawler.
characters from my book.
Yeah, like for sure.
Yeah.
So like we were into it and stuff. We had some fun. We had fun playing it.
Fun.
Yeah,
It was fun.
but
it
like,
had some bugs and needed some fixing, but
just put that
it
in
was pretty damn
context.
fun.
This big time first party game, like the top streamer only getting like 200. It's like it's pretty crazy for a launch time, man.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's nuts. Anyway, like flight simulator game, right? I had a launch stream for that, and it kind of took off. Yeah, like there's sometimes on launch days, like is when people are most excited and they want to check out streams.
like I said, people are curious. Like,
Right.
like there's usually a good group of people that honestly want to know, like, hey, should I check this game out? Maybe this is a game I should buy. Usually, you just get a bunch of people just off of that, like they're on the fence. Again, 200 people is like one of the top views that I saw. I was scrolling through, and that's like the top one I saw. It was like 250 or 256 or something.
But also, Second Extinction. We had a huge Second Extinction stream.
You're right.
There was a
you're right.
massive stream for Second Extinction and game preview launch. Like that's I'm just putting this in perspective just for the amount of numbers for that is like extremely low for a game launch stream.
And this is a first party Sony title. We can't you don't like see this. Like this is like the most lackluster first party launch we've seen forever.
I think
from
Destruction
Sony.
All-Stars had more attention than
Destruction. Yeah, I think so too because they changed up the price. Remember the pricing? They dropped the price. They got people a little bit more excited.
Plus, I think.
Yeah, PlayStation Plus right away. Yeah, that had more excitement than this. This has got to be the biggest lackluster Sony first party launch I've seen in forever. And they've been pumping the shit out of this. Like their Twitter account has been pumping the shit out of Concord. They've got advertising everywhere. I saw advertising on Twitch today before the streams. Like I mean, it's unbelievable. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen like this.
Yeah. It's nuts,
crazy,
dude.
It's
like,
nuts.
just try to put some perspective on that because that's actually been Bananas top 200 for on Twitch.
And even again, we got other stuff to talk about, but I glanced briefly at Deadlock because Deadlock was officially announced by Valve today. They officially announced their game, and I briefly just glanced at the character sheet, the opening character sheet. And already there is like a half dozen characters that I'm like, ooh, what's this dude or what's this girl's thing? What like I already had more interest in characters just glancing at the character sheet than I did actually playing with the Concord characters. And again, people can scream from the high heavens, who cares about the characters? When you are based around a hero shooter, and that is the personality of your game, it's the characters. People love to find mains that they run with. That's what Overwatch did so well and why Overwatch blew up. People found their mains, people loved the characters, all that kind of stuff. It is vital to a hero shooter. And like I said, I just quickly glanced at Deadlock and I was like, holy shit, yeah, they've already got better characters than what I saw in Concord.
That's what made it, I think, Apex a little special at launch too. It's Battle Royale, but a hero shooter still as well, like because of the characters and the diversity and the players.
Yeah, this felt like a little soulless when I first saw Concord. It would have benefited a lot if they stuck to their strengths and just made that a single player, expansive universe type game, like they kind of are showing in the trailer. Yeah, co-op too, sure.
Co-op shooter would be great. Bro.
I'm sure that would have been way more successful than because there's just so many hero shooters that do it well, that do it way better than Concord, and it's free. So if you're going against like free to play hero shooters and then you're charging $40, they're like, okay, incentivize me. Why are you better than all of the other hero shooters that are on the market that is free? That's what happens like when you are playing in a saturated sort of market. I feel like they would have benefited a lot from the universe I seen in the trailers a little bit. Like, yes, did it look a little soulless? Did I not really care for some of the character designs? Most of the character designs, sure. But if they actually just went the story route and did a co-op with some friends, yeah, that would be probably a way better experience than what is the hero shooter, But here we are.
Yep. Well, let's move on to some Gamescom conversation a little bit. This has been like I said before on the intro, this has been a very interesting week for Xbox because it's kind of like a tale of two things happening here. Like you have this amazing presence at Gamescom where you're having all these game previews and all of these things, and these games are looking great, and they have these live streams, and we see this roadmap of just amazing content coming to Xbox over the next couple years, and it should be a celebration of all of that. And that's what I think Xbox expected for this time period to be, with everything they're putting into Gamescom this year, all the investment, the booth, the putting that much content in Keeley's opening night live show, having 3 days of streams of sitting down with devs and showcasing games, and the interview with actual Phil and Sarah Bond actually showing up and doing an interview at Gamescom, and all these different things. They wanted Gamescom to be this almost second big fan moment of the year for them, right? And I think they're achieving that for that aspect. But on the other side, man, it has also been a horrible week for Xbox, because the news has been largely dominated by these other things that is taking away from the celebration and the success of all the awesome stuff that we're seeing. And it's like the series of like, well, maybe we shouldn't have announced that then or done that then, because it's taking away and distracting from all this other shit. Like I first off, you have the obvious moment of and one more thing, PlayStation 5 Indiana Jones getting actually announced at opening night live to end the show in one of the biggest kind of celebratory ways, which was just kind of strange to see it done in that way, right? Not strange to actually happen, but strange to be announced when it was and how it was, right? You have the news all coming out now about Avowed, which again, shout out to Cog, who had the interview and actually asked the tough questions there about Avowed, and the developers saying that they're targeting a smooth 30 and they're working on it, and they'll see what it ends up at basically. But what we found out is basically like, hey, it's probably not going to be 60 frames at launch. We'll see. Still got some time. Maybe they'll clarify things later, but that's kind of what it appears to be now. Which is another one, right? It's like a one-off, that's fine. But it's like Redfall, Starfield, Avowed. It seems like all the big games that people have been excited about, even the single player ones now are starting to launch that way. And it's something that we found out that, hey, when they say it's their division or they're working on this or that or whatever, yeah, Starfield's 60 now on a Series S. Okay, like, so optimization, all that kind of stuff. So we have the whole Avowed thing, right? Then you have the whole Towerborn thing as well, which, if we could decide if you want to be upset over it or not and all this other kind of stuff. But it's actually, Towerborn is launching sort of this year in a Steam early access paid for way. And then not until next year, they clarified even further into game preview on Xbox, and then later will be free to play. So in two ways, they're actually missing their launch of 2024, which they kind of skated by with a kind of a delay without actually calling it that. And then also Xbox players actually don't even get to play the damn game this year at all, unless you're in the Insider program. So there's that as well. And it's kind of this series of things. Meanwhile, also what happens this week, Black Myth Wukong becomes one of the most crazy successes we've seen in years at launch, and not launching on Xbox because developer reasons. Who knows exactly 100% what the actual reason is. But the series of things happening this week is kind of just overshadowed all the awesomeness, I think, that Xbox is presenting. And so it's been kind of a strange week, like as much of an effort as Xbox has put in to this Gamescom, which you can see all the effort they're putting in because they're doing work, they're showing everything, but the overshadowed by negativity is crazy to have it coinciding all at the same time for me. And it kind of leads me to think of like, how can they have this celebratory, awesome event where they're the only ones really showing up big and huge, be also the company that has the most negativity this week?
Yeah. I mean, it goes into what we were kind of saying earlier. It's a mixture of the media reporting of how they report on Sony compared to Xbox, but also, it's a few things. Poison did send me the full quote. I feel like before we kind of jump into it, let's just read the full thing. So this comes from the dev for Avowed. He says, performance is one of the last things we figure out, right? Our core target is 30 frames per second, bare minimum. That's the expectation. It's a first-person single-player game. You don't necessarily need that 60 frames. And that allows us to get a lot juicier with the effects, lighting, and all this other stuff. It's a trade-off we opted to make relatively early, and we're really happy about that. I mean, the game's running pretty smooth for how visually dense it is, and that was always our goal. As far as a greater understanding of performance spec, we're still figuring all of that out. It's one of the last things you do. So, no, I would say that before, so we have the context of what he actually said. We're not just speaking from
that was word for word via the Iron Lord's interview. Lord Cognito asking the questions there to the developers of Avowed. So shout out to, like I said, the Iron Lords and for doing that work and getting that actual candid answer. It kind of goes to what we've always said, right? Is priority of optimization, priority of making performance mode something that they want to focus on, and they just don't really care about the console optimization until last. But you'll be able to play this on 60 frames at launch on PC easy,
I just hate. It's one of my biggest pet peeves that I keep seeing developers say it's our vision, it's not possible, just things like that. Like, how many times do we have to go through this? and then like months later, like, oh, here we go. Now, to be fair, I'm glad we got the full quote because he was basically like 30 was our goal, but we want to do it later. But honestly, it's getting annoying to me that this just keeps happening with first party Xbox games. Like PlayStation, say what you want about their games, but they've had a lot of good optimized games. Spider-Man was very well optimized. The first one, second one it was very buggy, but at least it was 60 frames and it had all these
Yeah, I
little
had like
bells,
three
um,
modes, I think.
and like ray tracing modes and things
Yeah.
like that. So to me, like every time I see this thing where it's like it's not possible, it's our vision, things like that. It's just bogus. Like especially when you're saying like, oh, we don't need it in a first player game. That's the what in a first person game? You're saying you don't need 30 frames? That's the
Or
one
60, yeah.
thing you do need 60 frames in if it's a first person game. You know, I whenever a developer comes out and says that, I can never agree with it. The fact he said, "Oh, we do it at the end," just it bugs me because I've seen internal pipelines for games, and it's one thing to always kind of think about it early on as you're developing the game. Um, when you think about like optimizing objects that are popping up in front of you, you're they're using Unreal, so a lot of the objects in the game, if they're using Lumen and Nanite through and through, like I don't know when they transfer it over, but if you're fully using that, then you can use all the bells and whistles. If you're doing half Lumen and some of the older system from Unreal Engine 4, then you're going to run into optimization issues. That's something I've personally experienced moving from stuff from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. You can run into issues when you start doing like half, it's kind of lumens, kind of nanite, things like that. But listen, it whenever a developer comes out and says like 30 FPS is our vision, we want to do 30 FPS because it increases the quality of the lighting and all this stuff. It's bogus. I will never believe that, knowing the power that's in the Series X. We've seen it time and time again. Remember Dying Light, where they said it wasn't possible, or the developers, same developers from Rocksteady, who was basically saying Gotham Knights that we can't do it because of the open world and all the graphics
And the
and all the
co-op and
fidelity
stuff, yeah.
and the co-op, and then immediately with Suicide Squad, it ran like perfectly,
Yeah, 60
like 60
frames like
frames
butter, yeah.
in an open world, almost the same exact
There
situation,
was
you
actually a
know?
lot more detail and
So
crazy things and effects happening in Suicide Squad, and it's a lot more
that too.
fast paced as well than Gotham
Yeah,
Knights.
it just comes down to time. Like they can do it. Spend the time to optimize your game. I just hate the whole vision thing. Like, oh yeah, it's a part of our thing. And because we added all these stuff, we added effects, and yes, the only game where I can kind of see that being true is probably Hellblade, just because of how much they're pushing in that game. But even then, I still believe it's possible to push 60 in Hellblade. That's another conversation. But I don't know. That's annoying. And then you got Towerborn. You mentioned a couple things, man. I'm trying to remember all of it. Um, so that was annoying to me. That will always be annoying to me. The Towerborn situation also is this a marketing slap in the face? Like the fact that for months you're pushing on your Xbox pages, you're promoting this game. You're saying like you got Phil out there, you got all these Xbox execs saying how good Towerborn is, and we can't wait till you play it. And then you're doing it for months and months and months, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, you can't play it first. Like that's gonna be PC peeps. Like
But not even
it,
Xbox
it,
PC. Not like it's only Steam.
yeah, it's just like how, yeah, that's bad marketing again. And then on top of that, the Indiana Jones thing where you're like, oh yeah, and by the way, after you know it would have had to be in the works for a while. And I don't think this was the best way to do it. Not with Jeff Keighley smiling like, haha, look, we got it on PlayStation. It's not a good stage or way to set expectations for your game, in my opinion. Like there's a couple just missteps there. I'm just speaking like messaging wise on all three, from Avowed, from Towerborn to Indiana Jones. I feel like all three of those was very poorly handled, messaging wise. Now, in terms of the games itself, because these are two different conversations. Like, what is actually in Avowed, what is actually in Indiana Jones and Towerborn. I am excited for all three of these games. I'm really excited for Indiana Jones. What they're showing with the game itself, it just looks great. Like, yeah, yeah. It's just unfortunate, right? Because like you were saying earlier, Mav, a lot of those games should be exciting announcements. It just goes into this feel that I feel like marketing wise, Xbox is they're figuring out what they want to do and how they want to do it. Phil has said in that interview pretty much what we were talking about in the DMs, like the money men have taken over Xbox and they have a new vision for how they want to start handling putting a bunch of games over to the PlayStation. And they're figuring out how to message that, and they're not doing a great job right now.
Well, you don't do it that way as and one more thing at a big
You don't do it.
showcase to end the show, pretty much. Like it's
Unless you are sending a message.
and well, exactly. That's what we talked about last night, right?
Yeah.
It was
You're like
a
two
message to the
console, like
community.
you're kind of saying in a way like your console players don't matter like two times. Like you're saying it with Indiana Jones and then with Towerborn. Like you're not even, the game you've been marketing for months is not even on your system. Like that's just a double punch to the hardcore base, which they're not really, is not, Xbox is not for the hardcore base anymore, in my opinion. Like in terms of how they want to market Xbox going forward, it's not for the hardcore base. They're not marketing towards the hardcore base anywhere. It's very much geared to the casual market and getting new people into the ecosystem, because they don't care about your feelings at this point. They're just, it's like
They're just marketing to the masses now, and it's like if this upsets the hardcore Xbox community that's been there forever, they're at the point of they don't care anymore. At this point, they're just looking at their bigger picture, and that was the message that I think Pong's talking about here. Is like, hey, this is who we are now. This is accept it or don't. But if we lose you, we're gonna make more on the other end. So, oh well. And I think they're, I don't think they're actually gonna lose as much as people think.
Yeah, because to add my last point on this, and to add even further context, like as a gamer, as someone who looks for value, like I'm not going anywhere. Could I be mad about their marketing? Could I not agree with their direction? Sure, I don't agree with their direction. However, in terms of value and stuff, not a lot changes for me. Like what is actually happening on the box, like what is coming that I'm excited about, coming to Game Pass and stuff outside of Towerborn. There's a lot of games I'm excited for that's coming to the platform. I love Game Pass. It saves me a ton of money. Like I probably save hundreds, thousands of dollars just being in the Xbox ecosystem, and there's a lot that I like about it. This is something that they need to figure out, marketing wise, messaging wise. We are in the gaming sphere, so we pay attention to these things more than someone who's just like, oh, I could play Call of Duty on Game Pass. Oh, that doesn't know much about Game Pass and Xbox. But yeah, that's all it is. Because I know peeps get very much. I've posted about this on Twitter. People get in their feelings about not understanding that the distinction that I'm not dooming and glooming Xbox. I'm criticizing their messaging, which should be criticized, in my opinion, in certain ways, especially if they're lying about one thing, being saying one thing, not doing it, etc. but also enjoying the game. I'm a gamer, right? I enjoy what's coming to the box. I enjoy Game Pass and things like that. So go ahead, yo.
Yeah, like I good thoughts, 3-bit. Love, very well
Thanks.
said. Get to a couple super chats here. Alvin with the $2 says Halo and Killer Instinct should honestly be next. Pong is right. Yeah, Killer Instinct, man, it like would be, I think, a good candidate there to be multi-plat, and hopefully if they decide to make that decision, then maybe that helps them decide to go ahead and make a KI2, right? Like, the more players, the more money you can make on a game, maybe the more chances they decide to greenlight one. So I hope Iron Galaxy's working on the next Killer Instinct, but maybe all these updates, maybe the first one kind of just, hey, here it is, we're working on this game still and updating it. I still see them posting about it quite a bit lately. Kwimpy, hope I'm saying that. Kwimpy with a $5 super chat says, as long as they keep games on Game Pass, I don't care. I don't care who gets to play. More people playing is win. Why does the community not want others to play games? I think a lot of the community has had a lot of their heart and soul and identity about feeling special and representing the Xbox brand, saying that it is for them, and the kind of like promoting it as like, this is the place to play because all this is happening and these games are for us and you can't have them and all these other things. And now that's kind of like, hey, you guys don't matter anymore, and we're just giving everybody all the games that we're making and all this other kind of stuff, and they feel slighted. For me personally, I'm with you. I don't really care. I've never been like emotional about other people getting to play games. I like to see games be successful. It doesn't change my personal experience on the Xbox console. I still get the same value I was getting before. I still get the same games I was getting before. I still have the same experience I was getting before. And as long as that continues to be the case, then I am personally happy. But I do recognize still about the issue that can arise from a hardcore fan base feeling this way about a brand. It's destroyed companies before. I don't think it'll happen in this case because my Xbox is just too big as a multi-platform publisher, like making tons of money on tons of platforms and tons of games. Like, they're one of the biggest in the world now, that they are doing this because they can. They're not afraid to do this, which is interesting in and of itself, right? But yeah, there's a lot of people that feel a certain way about it, and that's fine if they do, right? I personally don't get it, how you would abandon ship when you're getting so much stuff coming and decide to still play those things somewhere else for more money that some place you said you hated a year ago. But hey, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Crumpy with another $10 super chat says, I'm an Xbox guy. My brothers are PlayStation. I would like to play games with them, and I do. Yes, I have a PS5, but I'd like to play the games I love with them. Yeah, I think it was one of the Call of Duties I played. Weren't we playing a lot with somebody was on PlayStation I was playing a lot of Call of Duty with before, crossplay. Can't remember who it was, but it worked great. Yeah, didn't have any issue with that. I wasn't mad at him because he was playing on PlayStation. Like, you suck, man. I will say the only thing about crossplay with PlayStation is, man, those controller microphones are annoying as fuck.
Yeah, they're awful.
And it makes me want to mute the chat so much because you can hear people's music, you can hear the like kitchen dishes rumbling in the background. Like,
that was interesting.
Yeah, it's like I shut off the damn controller mics, please. Spartan661 gifted 5 Fun Speculation memberships. Welcome to the Fun Speculation train, everybody that got gifted one from Spartan661. Appreciate you, Spartan. Choo-choo, motherfuckers. You rock. And hey, we got more to say about this. So, Fuzzy, this has been an interesting week, man. Like, we talked on Monday. We speculated about what could happen. Then that stuff actually happened. Overall, like, it's been a crazy week. You have the good. You have the messaging that's like, some people's bad, some people's not, but it's definitely dominated the headlines. Where's this week been like for you with Gamescom?
Two quick things. For me right now, I'm viewing Xbox's movements kind of like the green bubble versus blue bubble. It seems like they're being more like Android while PlayStation's being more like Apple. And it seems like they're getting the corresponding treatment to go along with it. As far as Xbox's messaging, I kind of feel like we've all seen that person that's, you know, um, bipolar, let's say, kind of thing. And it almost feels like that's Xbox's approach, whether it's intentional messaging to kind of spit in the face kind of deal, or it's just who they are. They changed schools. They're a new person now. They got this new identity going, and they're going to run with it, type of thing. But my outlook hasn't changed since they put Hi-Fi on PlayStation. Like I have probably the worst or the least friendly approach on it. Like I'm good until 2028 with my Game Pass subscription, thanks to Microsoft Rewards. But I'm not spending a dime in their ecosystem until they show me a handheld that can both play the console and PC games on that same device. I don't need to spend money in their ecosystem, which in turn means I'm spending more money at Steam, and that's going to be my central hub now where I spend most of my money. I used to spend at least $1,200 to $1,500 a year. Yeah, as of what was it, February? That all ended, and that will continue to be the case because I'm not going to continue to build a console library that has dual entitlement, which is awesome. But if the device goes away, the console device goes away, and it's just going to be PC, their PC store sucks donkey balls. Like it is. That is the thing that they have to fix. Like if the move is to push people to PC, fix your store. Get that shit in order first before you kind of push people that way. But that's a whole nother conversation. But how they approached the Indiana Jones thing to me was probably them looking at metrics without taking a step back and looking at the overall room or the overall picture. Like, they could still announce that it comes to PS5 without announcing it there. Yes, I get that there were a lot of eyes on that. But you also missed an opportunity to sell hardware. But then again, if you're not interested in selling hardware, which that's the messaging I'm getting, and by doing what they did with saying the PS5 edition coming, in spring or whatever, obviously they don't want to sell any more consoles. And I used to not believe that. But if you're going to kind of shoot yourself in the foot before you even get pre-orders on the game, then why are you in the hardware business anymore? I don't really care either way. The hardware could disappear tomorrow and I'll still play the games. But I think there's some metrics that they're looking at. Like I made this argument before on Twitter where they were being stupid about the DVR, not fixing it. Well, their excuse was nobody's using it. Well, nobody's using it because it's broken. It like if you compare it to the PlayStation DVR, why would you use that? Like, oh, if I want to edit videos seriously, I have to then take it off a thumbstick and put it on my computer. Why am I even on the console then? Why don't I just use my computer? And that's the message that they constantly kind of, I wouldn't say ram down your throat, but it's like anytime there's an inconvenience or an issue outside of like some of the awesome features that they have, like resume or quick resume. Mm-hmm. That's an awesome feature that I wish PCs had. And they said they were working on it, and we'll see if it comes as a Windows 12, built-in feature type of thing. But outside of that, everything else, they seem to focus on the PC except for the store. That's the one area where it's like, they need to take what they've learned from the console store and port that over to the PC store, and then see what Steam has in store and make sure that's in that same store type of thing. But the messaging for, Indiana Jones, they should have waited. They could have probably sold a ton of Series S's well, I wouldn't say a ton, but they could have sold a decent amount of Series S's in the time between when it launches on Xbox versus when it launches on PS5. But I wouldn't say that's gone, but that's more than likely a shot in the foot. and they're going to continue to do that same type of thing. The big hope is whatever the next gen is, but like I think it was Black Viking posed the question on Twitter. Like, I have no interest in buying another Xbox at this point for the fact that whatever that Xbox can do, my PC could do better. And if it means that I'm going to spend more money to do it, and it's that much better of a visual, that much better of a performance, then it's the cost of doing business. But in the grand scheme of things, if they do that handheld where I can play my console library of, I think it's now like 600 or 700 games, and I can also play PC games either through their store or the ones from Steam on that same device natively, then I'm sold. But otherwise, my Steam Deck can already do everything, whatever that handheld can probably do. So, or Steam Deck 2 will be even an improvement over that. So it feels like they're not just burning a bridge. They're like burning a bridge and then gasoline trails and walking around with matches in their pocket the rest of the way they go. And that's not just me looking at it from the old, traditional console war-y type of standpoint. It just feels like this is what you did with Windows Phone to some extent. It's just that they keep on saying, or at least Sadia keeps on saying, well, that was a mistake for us to get out of that. But how are you going to continue doing hardware if you're giving people less of an incentive to buy that actual hardware? Like, at this point, I think they're looking more so at places like Dell or whomever, and then they'll have like an Xbox box, or almost like the way the Steam box was supposed to work 10 years ago. It'll be an Xbox box instead that you can buy at Dell or buy wherever and go from there. And then they won't have the expense of R&D for the building of the box. They won't have the expense of warehousing or manufacturing and all that stuff. Leave that to your third party or your hardware providers and things like that. So I don't know. It didn't piss me off, but it was like, yeah, I knew you guys were going this way, but this fast? Like, you're not even going to let Call of Duty live a year in Game Pass before you really burn this stuff down? But I don't know. My standpoint is I'll continue with Game Pass as long as Microsoft rewards points can, cover it. But outside of that, wait until the game is on sale, buy it on Steam. Yes, they're still getting my money. I get that. They still have the games. That's why they're going to get that money. But I'm not going to do it in their ecosystem where, yes, that ecosystem looks like it goes everywhere. If I can play it on Steam, I'm good. I don't have to worry about playing it over my phone. I don't really have the need, although I can do that. I can still stream from Steam to other devices much like they can. And they have a better family plan as far as sharing games, more so than what you have with console right now. So I'm in a better position putting my investment or my future purchases in Steam. But like I said, if that handheld is that blurred line between console and PC, that's the only thing that'll make me even remotely look at an Xbox in the future. But
yeah, they tend to like Xbox is notorious for looking really far into the future before people are either ready. We've seen it with the Xbox One, right, where they introduced features that are now like pretty much standard at this point for different devices. And it feels like they're doing it again. That like they are notorious for just starting things before any other competitor. Like what? Like putting your console games on PC? Like I remember that was a weird concept for people where traditionally it was just you put your game on console versus console, and that was it. If you put your game on a PC, it's like an anomaly. It wasn't a thing. And then they did that. They did achievements for the first time, and then eventually PlayStation, Sony followed with like trophies and things like that. And now with this, they're the first kind of out of the big three to try. It's basically an experiment in a lot of ways, but yep, yeah, I agree with what you said for the most part.
Yeah. The only thing is like for me, I think everybody's gonna have to make the decision on where they play going forward, like in the future anyway. But like, you're somebody that is okay and happy playing on PC, right? there's a lot of people that are just console gamers and don't want to play on PC, right? And for like all the people that are just console gamers, and for them, they just typically they don't even want to deal with PC. They don't care about PC. They want to buy a box and put on their TV. There's still millions and millions and millions of people that are into the Xbox ecosystem that are going to stay that way, even if they only play Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft and Call of Duty and Madden and stuff. There's a lot of even those gamers that prefer to play on Xbox, right? We think of that as the PlayStation market, but there's millions of people like that play on Xbox too. And like, I don't see Xbox throwing away all the money they make on those third-party games, all these free-to-play games, all their Game Pass subscribers that they have that are primarily console users, all the console users that spend so much money deciding, hey, guess what? We don't need any of that anymore, because, you know, I see it as still being a part of everything that they do. It's just they aren't as focused on growing that part as far as maintaining, trying to maintain kind of what they have there, right? Or maybe their ideas of growing it in a different way.
Here's the one caveat that makes me think a little bit differently on that. And with them saying they're at their highest number of consoles, that's including the Xbox One.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to say consoles as a whole, focusing just on Xbox, or consoles including, you know,
I think they're talking
Minecraft
about just
on
active
Switch and Minecraft
users on console, like on Xbox consoles. Yeah.
So as long as the people that have consoles today are still using them, and you can use them via streaming and things along those lines, I don't think any of that changes. But what may change is them making the consoles in the future, like next generation, whatever was that, Gen 10, I guess it would be.
Probably the last
Oh,
one.
they're fully making their own box.
But
Will we
I
see
think that
licensed
was
boxes?
I think that was the last one anyway, though.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah,
any of this news, that's why it doesn't really change for, like, because you think about it, Fuzz, like, okay, that's going to happen maybe 2026 at the earliest, if we're lucky. It might be 2027. And then if it lasts like 8 years, we're looking at like 2034, 2035 by the what would normally be the tail end of that. Where is cloud gaming at that point? Where is like all these handheld PCs, the dockable things, all these other kind of things? Where does technology go at that point? I think Xbox has seen that this next gen is probably their last actual dedicated hardware. I think you have a lot of those third-party companies that make these devices like they're already doing with the handheld gaming and stuff like that in the future. Beyond that, I think PlayStation maybe gets one more generation after, just because they've always been behind Xbox and technology and progressing things in that way. And then the Switch will always be the holdout, because they're selling their products as toys for the most part, right? And making a huge profit on each and every single device that they sell. But like, ultimately, I don't think this really changes what that vision was going to be, because a lot of the things that we talk about, like, is already in line with what we've already been speculating for a long time with that.
We just don't know. We know that the console market is stagnant, right? We know that people are fighting for the same 200 million people every single generation. We know that Microsoft has had trouble in other sectors, like in Europe and in Japan and things, and it hasn't been growing since. So it's like they just saw, like, is it worth it to continue to fight for those markets, or do we just play a different ball game? They're playing a different ball game. Now Sarah is in a difficult position, as this potentially being the last Xbox. Don't quote us on that, but it just makes sense technology wise of where they are headed. Sarah is just in a difficult position, because not only does she have to make the finale Xbox, but she also is in a position where they are putting games on other platforms. So what it usually incentivizes people to buy an Xbox. Oh, Xbox is the box that has Halo, it has Gears, it has the Forza, that has all these other games. is now everywhere else. So it's like, okay, well, this could have been that generation that you're like, oh, okay, now that we finally have all these studios and we have the games to go with that, it's more so I feel like just naturally going to go to the hardcore market, who cares about the fidelity of graphics. Just like whoever wants to buy the next Xbox is just someone who really is a hardcore person like me, who wants the best out of the box, who prefers playing on a couch. I don't really like playing on PC because this is where I work. I almost try to separate my work from gaming in a way. Like, is my PC very powerful? Yes, but like when I play games, I try to treat it as like a separate space. Like I'm playing on a couch, I'm chilling. It's hard to play on PC with friends and things like that. So I like the console, but not everyone's gonna be like me. But I love playing on console. But it really just the next generation. They're just gonna have interesting problems because like if you're saying right now in this current generation, because remember you're basically setting up what's going to happen next. Um, the end of console generations usually uh kind of depicts what they kind of want to do with the next one. Uh, Whether it's the games that release, like hey, like with technology wise, like oh, we finally figured out how to put all the power in the PS4, for example. Like some of the best games on PS4 came out at like the end of its generation, for example. So when Xbox comes out with its next generation, it has to has to battle with the fact that none of those games potentially being exclusive or not a lot of the games being exclusive. How much is that going to matter to people, to the casual market, and what they will battle that with? They have a ton of IPs, they have a ton of studios. They can battle that will be like, hey, this is our Call of Duty Xbox bundles. This is our, incentivizing people with their IPs and things like that. That's what they're gonna have to do. I mean, I'm glad that is not my job and not my position, because that would be incredibly hard. But I think how I kind of look at it is just like I kind of look at it selfishly. I'm just like, cool. I get Game Pass. I get Xbox. I am gonna buy the next Xbox, for as long as it's survives, and then after that, we'll see where technology progresses. That's the thing. Xbox is seeing 10, 15 years into the future, um, and we'll see where technology actually goes if consoles are just minute, or if we're all playing in the cloud and things like that.
Yeah. Right on, man. I kind of agree. Pong Soul, this Gamescom, been a tale of two worlds. You have all the amazing stuff the investment Xbox is making there. Huge booth, huge presence at opening night live. 3 days of streams. Great feedback from the games people are playing. Awesome footage and all this stuff. People are like saying, "Hey, these games are great." All these other kind of things. But the headlines, the talk, and everything, like even tonight with us, right? Obviously, has been about all these other big things that have kind of happened that have kind of overshadowed what Xbox is doing, and I think that's been a detriment to what they're trying to do. But I think it's on them as well. Like, so, how do you see this week for Xbox? Like, it's been kind of crazy.
It's been crazy, but I think overall it's been a success.
More good than bad.
Yeah, I mean, because they showed up and dominated an entire showcase again.
Yeah.
And again, because we're not talking about the old days, because the competition is gone, because it's not the same world we're living in anymore. Really, all they're doing is showing up and flexing as one of the world's biggest publishers. Like we've already said that they are, right? They are now one of the world's biggest publishers, if not the biggest. And they are flexing their muscles, because they have more games than anybody else does right now. And that's going to be kind of the case going forward, every year from here on out. So they're kind of doing their thing, and with the good comes the bad, and I think we were talking about this in our DMs a little bit this week too. When you're Microsoft or when you're Xbox, and you're evolving the way that they have, and you come out this week and make this really, to me and obviously to, I think most of us here on this panel agree, and a lot of the people in this community agree, a gigantic statement with what you did with Indiana Jones, whether you like it or you don't like it, doesn't really matter at this point. And then follow that up with Phil's interview, where I again, the things that he said, were quite clear to me. But it's what he didn't say that again spoke the biggest volume to me, which was not one single mention between him and Sarah Bond of exclusivity at all. Not timed exclusivity, not full exclusivity, not any of that. Throughout that entire interview when they asked him, concerning Indiana Jones and the other stuff. So you're going to take the good with the bad, and you're going to be at the center when you're evolving the way they are. And because of how big they are, and because their parent company is one of two of the largest companies in the entire world on any given day, you're going to be the center of that maelstrom, right? You kind of are the epicenter of the industry's change right now that we see other companies in certain ways, or trying to kind of emulate or finding their own new path forward. But because all three of the big players, Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox, are now kind of doing their own thing, Xbox stands out because, like Phil said, he told us all, well, I mean, gamers need to get used to, or consumers need to get used to, or customers need to get used to the fact that this industry is changing. The way that we develop games, the way that we distribute games is going to be changing as well. But everybody, everybody's looking to do this. And he always points that out whenever this is questioned, but they are the front runners, right? They are the groundbreakers in a lot of ways with all the moves that they have made. And so, yeah, the focus is going to be on them. The spotlight is going to be on them, right? All the talk is going to be about that. And as I stated earlier, the media is not going to change just because Xbox is changing. There's always going to be a certain slant to it. And that would be naturally, too, if you're trying to change things, right? If you're trying to alter what everybody has known as the old way of doing things, just the standard way of business practices. But when you're not the favored one, when you're not the popular kid, and you try to go make those changes, there's going to be a little bit more harsher criticism thrown at you. There's going to be a little bit more, let's not look at all the good stuff, but let's focus on, why are we doing this? What is going on here? How are you guys going to make this work? All these questions that maybe a PlayStation wouldn't get if they were the ones doing this kind of stuff. It would just be assumed it's all going to work, and it's all for the good. But when it's Xbox, they don't get that leverage, right? They don't get that credit. Yeah. So I think, but overall, again, to go back to Gamescom week, they dominated. They dominated the news cycle. Again, there was a lot of good stuff that came out of this. Every time you've turned on IGN this week, it was Xbox. You had a great chance of it being an Xbox game. The entire opening night live, over half, it had to be 60, 70% of the games were connected to Xbox in some way, shape, or form. That's who they are now. So I think that overall, you gotta say that even, with the avowed stuff in the 30 frames, the largely the sentiment did get out there that what people played, even the people who were questioning avowed, earlier from all the earlier showings, there was a lot of those people got turned around. There was a lot of those people that said, "Oh no, wait! Now that I got my hands on, okay, now kind of get it. Like this is looking really good. This is shaping up to be something special next February. There's gonna be a lot of people happy and excited about this." I think that still came through overall because I did see more people talking about that. 30 frame stuff is going to be the 30 frame stuff that is on them. Like I said, I hit Cog up in the DMs about this and said, "Hey, after the camera turned off, did you did you push a little bit more? I said, I understand the niceties, of getting an interview. And obviously he told me PR is in the room while they're interviewing, so they don't say anything. His overall feeling was that that the devs don't really understand how big a deal it is, and it's not a big deal for everybody. We know that, but in 2024, I said, "Cog, come on, man! Like we all know that the 60 frames is a big deal," and obviously Cog knows, but he said overall that he doesn't get the sentiment that the devs necessarily think that way. But he did say that they made clear they're going to be working and using the extra time that they've now been given. They are going to be working a lot, and the performance is one of the things that they are going to be working on, along with a bunch of other stuff. But Cog said his overall excitement for the game is through the roof, and I won't give away any stuff that he necessarily said, but he just what he played, he loved. So I think that came through, but all the other showings too this week, Mav, there was a ton of Game Pass announcements for this year, or I should say for next year, like the deals with Rebellion to get Atomfall, which we already kind of knew, but then the new Sniper Elite Resistance is coming next year. Like they've already started building what next year is going to be just gigantic for the entire industry again. But Xbox is already starting to build next year out to be a ridiculous year once again in terms of first party and third party. So I got to say that overall, again, I've said it multiple times now and I'm just going back and around, but there's so much here and there's so much I haven't seen yet from Gamescom because I got to go back and rewatch a lot of this. I think overall it was a great showing for Xbox. You take the good with the bad when you're as big as they are, when you're not the favored one out of the group. It's always going to be kind of that way. And because you're doing so many changes that a lot of people don't understand and that are head scratching, both from the community, from the professional journalists. Again, Jason Schreier had one of those articles today. When you're doing that and you're doing your own thing, you're going to have kind of this mixed bag, so to speak, of different reactions to what you're doing. But I think, again, they dominated Gamescom, which is what they set out to do. And I think the gamers who went to Gamescom are coming out buzzing about a lot of the games that were showing on the Xbox floor. So that's a win.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like been like there's so much awesome shit to see. Like you mentioned Atomfall too. That was one that keeps standing out to me.
Huge.
Like I think it's gonna be a really cool ass game that's gonna take some people by surprise, because their gameplay is always super solid, but putting that gameplay in this kind of world and this kind of style is going to be unique and different, man. So like I'm pumped for that. Metaphor showed amazing again. Oh my god. Like I'm getting super hyped for that game, bro. It's like it looks like Persona, but a Final Fantasy like themed fantasy style game. Like it's combining two of my favorite things in like this traditional fantasy JRPG, like that we haven't really gotten from a team like them in a long time, right? Closest things we've gotten is these Final Fantasy games that have been kind of like trying to do things differently and push things forward to this is like
I'm loving the world, like the world, the graphics from even from the first trailer to now. You can tell they've been like polishing that up, and like the gameplay looks freaking fun. I can't wait to try that out. I'm jealous that Poops got to play it.
Xbox is not going anywhere. Again, this is such a I understand the fear, and people have a right to question what's happening because there is that fear. What happens to my digital library? I mean, Fuzzy put it great. And again, I understand that sentiment. I said it last night. I think the only thing that's going to change for me is more third party stuff. I am going to buy on the PC through Steam or one of the other stores just in case. That's like the only thing for me really. But there is some valid fear like that Xbox, just being underneath Microsoft is going down a road where maybe they lose their identity completely as Xbox, right? And they just become, the software company
Yeah.
that everybody always talks that Microsoft is. They just become absorbed into Microsoft as another wing of the software company. And what happens to my digital library? What happens to the investment I made? What happens to, my favorite platform as a hardware producer? Those are valid questions. And I think people have a right to be scared, but they are so big now. They're almost too big to fail at this point with the acquisitions they've made, unless they really screw up stuff or the industry absolutely collapses into nothing. Like, they're almost too big at this point to fail. Like, there's only getting bigger from here on out. Like, at this point, like, the investments, I think, are going to continue going forward, especially if the political climate changes. I think the investments are going to be fast and furious yet again, because they've shown the path forward. And now that everybody's just accepting them and already writing articles, they're just the third-party publisher. Well, shit, they got nothing to really worry about. There's not going to be a whole lot of arguments out there that are going to hold any water if they're giving away their games and putting them everywhere. So, again, I just think that Xbox overall is not going anywhere. And I told you all a million times, I'm riding this until the wheels fall off, man. I mean, again, Game Pass is the best deal in gaming for me, and it's only getting better. So
I mean, look at another company that has their own storefront that's been traditionally in the past as a developer, third-party publisher, was Valve. They created Steam, and they're happy to be in the hardware space, even if they aren't selling 150 million consoles.
Steam just has won if you're talking about the console war or whatever, Steam has just won by default, if you really think about it.
I mean, but like, they're making their own hardware, right? But it's not selling. Like, they're just doing really well. We talk about how well Steam does, but they don't sell as much as PlayStation, like, or Switch, right? And it's a hardware device, right? It's their own hardware device that they're pushing, and they're going to keep evolving and all that stuff. But hey, like, there's a reason for them to create that, and they're happy with it. There's no reason to think that Microsoft, who also has huge storefronts and also has subscription services, also has gamers invested in their ecosystem with huge libraries and all these different things, isn't going to continue to make things for the people that are dedicated into that space for as long as there's a reason to do so, right? If everybody abandons ship, everybody stops buying them, everybody starts canceling their Game Pass subscriptions, right, and it migrates to PlayStation, then we got something to worry about as far as the future of hardware with Xbox. But I just don't actually see that happening, because the majority of these gamers that are console gamers that are playing on this hardware, all this stuff, it's not us. Like, it's the people that don't even know what Gamescom is.
Right.
Like, that don't even know what opening night live is. Didn't know there was a showcase, but guess what? They spend a shit ton of money on these games every single year, right? And
it's it's really the voiceless, like the peeps that are not on YouTube, Twitter. They're just like, I'm gonna buy 500 packs on Madden, or things like that. And out of the big three, and I say this on several shows, but it's true. Like, out of the big three, Xbox offers the best value, like, to me. Like, Nintendo still having tiled grass over there with their subscription service. Sony, what is their subscription service right now? I'm not a fan of it. Xbox, it, in terms of all the games I already have on there, the games I do buy within Game Pass, my library, the cloud save moving seamlessly from Xbox to PC to whatever I want. It's just, that's what I love about it. And if that continues, I'm happy. It's more so for conversation, like their business, like what's going to happen in the future. But as a gamer, I'm very happy. Like, especially with like what was at Gamescom, what is coming up in the pipeline. Like, they have so many freaking games. I remember one of these shows we went over, like, let's go over all the studios that they have and then figure out what games they have. And it took like an hour, 2 hour of a show to go through almost all the studios and games that are coming. So it's not that I'm not excited about that. I'm very excited about that. I feel like, so some people who can who don't really follow us or some of our shows, like, that's been our stance. If you go back and watch our shows, that's always kind of been our stance. Like we're gamers, right? We have conversations about the business and things like that, sure. And we'll talk about it and talk about what we like, what we don't like. But my priority personally is always just going to be like, okay, as long as I can turn on my Xbox and play Indiana Jones and have a good time, cool. You know, it doesn't affect me that someone's playing on PlayStation. No,
No,
that's it.
And like we said last night, man, we talked about. I don't envy Sarah Bond and her job right now, the position that she's been put in. However, because they are still moving forward with hardware, like now that they've put themselves in this position, they have to come with something compelling to sell hardware. They're forced to go way outside the box and make something that they have to present something that they're going to be able to sell hardware as a third-party publisher that's put their games elsewhere to still draw people in to that side of things, right? To still make a move to push, boxes, whether it's handhelds or the standard box next to the TV or under the TV. So that to me is what's fascinating, because that's a motivated Xbox hardware division, right? Underneath Sarah Bond. That is a team, everything in the kitchen sink into the next box to try to attract people to say, yes, there is still a massive reason to buy Xbox hardware. And in fact, we're going to give you more reasons to do so than any other platform holder out here, because we have to, right? Because this is the idea now. Well, Xbox is just putting their games everywhere. Why do I need even our own company is saying you don't need an Xbox anymore. No, we're going to give you something that does even more than that, right? And still be convenient, still be a console at the end of the day. That's why I'm so excited for next gen, because even we don't know what it's going to look like after that. We don't know where tech's going. We don't know what hardware's going. But we do know that they are going to have another round, and it's going to include a handheld and most likely a box as well. What that is what I want to see next, because they could push some things that we haven't seen before in a crazy way. And I would love to see that happen.
Comedically inclined says people weren't buying Xboxes when they thought that Xbox had exclusives. How do you think it's going to do after they have no exclusives? Where have you been the last decade with the Xbox has no games conversation? People still been buying Xboxes. Like, people also
30 to 50 million is not nothing. So
no, but they over the generation they'll sell even more than that. They're at like 30 mil now. Like, so they'll end up hitting probably like.
I'm just saying overall, Xbox One finished at what, 56 or something like that, or whatever it was.
Something like that. Which is That's
nothing to laugh at. That's a lot of freaking people invested in your ecosystem, right? Period.
The Wii U was a failure. That did like 12 to 14 mil or something total over its lifetime, right? But then they made the Switch, right? Who thought Nintendo was going to recover like that after the Wii U with the Switch and just hit that home run? Like, I think that people are a little quick to write off things because we're just not used to we're not used to this. A first party platform holder basically saying that, guess what? Like, we're no longer making exclusivity the core philosophy of bringing people to our platform. Like, it's just unusual for the industry, and the Microsoft and the Xbox sent a message by doing the "and one more thing" at opening night live to say, well, hardcore Xbox community, I know you guys are the ones that care the most about this, but we aren't going to be dictated by your feelings anymore. We're just going to be running with the business, and you're not going to like this, but guess what? It is what it is, and you're going to have to learn to accept this if you want to stick with our brand and keep investing in our ecosystem and all that kind of stuff. It's fine. If you want to abandon ship, I'm sure we may lose some of you, but we're going to gain way more. And that's basically what they delivered. And for me, I'm still going to do what I was doing before. It changes nothing for me. Like, and we'll see when these next things get revealed, these next consoles or whatever form or shape they take. I think they're going to exist. And when they do, we'll make the decision. Will there be a generation beyond the next generation? I think that was always up in the air in the first place anyway, based on where technology and everything is going, especially with the whole cross-platform play anywhere initiative that Xbox has been going in anyway. So, interesting stuff, man.
And I kind of want to answer AJH's thing. He says devs will refuse to make ports if Xbox doesn't have the numbers and only exclusives can do that. If you remember the FTC case, it showed that Sony spent a pretty good investment of keeping games off of Xbox, and to the point where Call of Duty, the thing that they now own, almost wasn't on Xbox just due to their marketing position, right? So it's been happening for a while. So what Xbox decided to do is like, okay, we're going to put ourselves in a position where we are going to own these studios. We're going to own Activision and Blizzard. We're going to own all these studios to the point where they don't have to rely on other people. They are the people they can rely on. So they have 30 plus studios. Do they still want third-party partnerships like Square Enix and stuff? Sure. They're doing that right now.
They're losing on some of these big ones, like the weird ones. Occasionally, like Baldur's Gate happened like later. It didn't happen at launch because of technical reasons. And Black Myth Wukong is the mystery. We don't really exactly know what's going on. But overall, there's been way more coming this generation as opposed to last. So like you have your Atlas games, you have your Yakuza games, you have your other JRPGs, Square's new partnership. We're going to see where that kind of goes in the future. So like there's less actually overall missing Xbox, but these big ones like Black Myth Wukong and Baldur's Gate 3 at launch, those ones are the ones that are like suck, right? When they pointed out like it's like that's not good, right? That missed at launch because it's just not a good look for people looking to play games day and date on your platform, right?
Yeah. Third party is still important, and yeah.
We got to get Pong out of here because he's got to go. Pong Soul, thanks for joining us, dude. As always on a Friday night. We'll see you next week. Yeah. And you're going to be on the shop tomorrow, so I'll be watching.
I'll be on the shop tomorrow. Yeah, we're back, so we'll be there tomorrow. But thank you everybody. Chat, you guys were all amazing for coming out again. Another big week of news, gaming. Again, there's so much. I haven't been able to watch half of it. I'm like fuzzy. I've just been at work because Gamescom's on during work hours, like here in the US. So it sucks. So I haven't been able to catch up. But the excitement level, despite the conversations, the ups and downs, the excitement level has been great because again, gaming is just getting bigger next year. And Steele and I are going to talk about this tomorrow morning on Living Split Screen. So be there. We'll run through the list. Some people have put out there for 2025 confirmed big games already. It's stupid. It is dumb. And these are like just big games. Like we're not even talking about the stuff in between. 2025 is going to be third year in a row where this industry just blows up with amazing stuff. So this is a great time to be a gamer. It's the best time to be a gamer, as I always say. But thank you all for coming out and joining all the shows this week and having a good time, understanding our interactions, our conversations. I think we got it whittled out now. We got a lot of the people that didn't really listen to us and understand what we are about. Those people have been whittled out over the past about year and a half, 2 years now. Now we got the core people who understand when you come here, you're going to hear big talk about everything. And that includes some stuff that not necessarily fun to talk about, but we're coming from a good place and we're not the doom and gloomers, right? At all. But appreciate all of you joining us here. Brothers, 3-bit, always amazing whenever I get on a show with you, man. So thank you for being here. Fuzzy, obviously, man. And we are back at the shop. So I will talk to you tomorrow night as well. And of course, Sniffles, always good, sir. Yeah, as he coughs. See, Sniffles is still there. Listen. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, everybody, tomorrow morning, Live in Split Screen. Be ready for that. Me and Steele get going at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3+ hours. Buckle up. We'll take you from your morning to your afternoon to your night, depending on where you are in the world. We're going to talk about all this stuff. Steele's been on fire this week. He's had some big opinions about a lot of things. So we're going to have some talk about that. Plus, he is loving Black Myth Wukong. So we're going to get into that because I need his final decision of whether or not I can play this game. So yes, I am leaving it up to him. So that will happen tomorrow. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Join us. And then tomorrow night, the Shop Podcast, the best way to end your Saturday night. PTK Blam's channel, Fuzzy Belvedere, myself. We go live 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And tomorrow night, we have Web Dave and Mr. Ego himself, Infinite Umbra. That's right. The show's not big enough for both of us, so it always gets a little murky when Umbra shows up. Him and I go back and forth. I hope not. God, anyways, Umbra, love you. I love you. I can't wait. So yeah, Shop Podcast tomorrow night, and then next week it starts all over again. Of course, Tuesdays, Xbox Factor, Double Barrel Games channel, Boomsticks the Man, Mr. 15K now. Join him every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time for that. All good things green. And then Thursday, right here with my main man, the killer, Sniffles himself. That's right. We're going to be back at it PM in the PM, Pog and Bav in the PM, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, it's the golden age of gaming, people. Love you all. Please enjoy your weekend. Play what you love what you play, and I'll talk to y'all real soon. Thanks for getting out of here, Mav.
Yeah, no problem, man. Have a good one, Pong. Take it easy, dude.
Love you, brothers. Love you, chat. Talk to you soon.
So yeah, continue 3-bit. Like you were kind of on about the
I think I was just talking about like third-party games, like like Xbox was being in the position they are in the market, being third place. They had to be in the position where now they have 30 plus studios. They had to rely on their own studios because Sony kept using their marketing position. We've seen it in FTC cases, not things I'm saying is great.
Right.
Where they use their marketing power to just keep going to big third-party publishers to keep those games off of Xbox, to the point where Call of Duty almost wasn't even on Xbox. They had to pay extra just to have Call of Duty come to the Xbox platform. Just imagine a world where Call of Duty is not on Xbox. It's just crazy, right? But it almost happened. So now what is happening, and I've said this like a year or two ago, Xbox now they have all these studios, awesome, but they still have the problem where developers, because Sony is just PlayStation 5 is just the default platform for a lot of developers to develop on when they get the SDK kit. So they develop for PlayStation PS5 first, and then they develop for Xbox, and that causes a lot of issues where they just use the marketing position to just develop for that first, and then Xbox usually gets the bad end of the stick there, resulting in performance disparities, even if Xbox is the more powerful console. So it always comes down to optimization, and developers are, now that we are getting better tech in our engines, we're getting all this new stuff in the Unreal Engine, the new mentality for a lot of developers now is just like, hey, we have all this tech to build stuff faster, or all these things. It's changing the development pipeline to, let's build all this stuff and then optimize later. I mean, that was even in the Avowed interview. He's like, yeah, we'll just, we'll figure this out later. That's actually across the board. We keep seeing that. But what happens with that, like, you get that. However, because Sony PS5 is the default console, what you keep seeing is, yeah, we'll eventually get to the Xbox version, and then this causes them like, well, let me blame the Series S. The Series S is the problem. Like, there's no way we could fit our game on the Series S. This happened with the Dying Light devs. They said that happened. Baldur's Gate. Like, it goes on, right? And then what happens? It ends up being on the Series S, and then it like performs fine. And they eventually figured out either Xbox is sending people or what have you. But that's just because the Sony is the default console for what they first start building the game on, and then they port it. Almost every big third party developer ports it to the Xbox. So it sucks, yeah, but that's just how it is, unfortunately. And so you'll continue to see this within other releases. It's probably not going to stop. This is I'm just speaking from my experience working with Ubisoft and other companies. That's how it usually worked. when I was there, and I see that rippled through many games, unfortunately. So when we talk about oh, Xbox has to fix their porting problem, as I seen in the chat and other people talk about it. Yeah, that's stuff that they have to figure out. It's not my job to figure that out for them. And right now they're kind of brute forcing that problem by buying a bunch of studios. That's probably the best thing they can do. But to blame it on the Series S is the last thing I'll say. To continuously just blame the Series S, like Baldur's Gate, for example. On Baldur's Gate, people kept saying this game can't run on Series S, et cetera, et cetera. Then you look at the minimum specs for a game, and usually it'll be below the Series S requirements. So can you really blame the Series S if you know, not really. It's more so just making sure you have the time.
Specifically in that case, when they actually went and took the time to really understand the Series S, they actually found, hey, there's all this stuff that we're not utilizing, that once we utilize it, now it's actually benefiting all of our platforms because we actually optimized the game better.
Amazing how that
was
works.
Crazy. They had made a big deal about reporting that and how it improved the performance by a good margin on everything. To your point, 3-Bit, it's not about like the capability of it. It's about the priority from the developers, and this can go for Xbox first party developers as well. I'll say, because a lot of them prioritize developing on PC even before the Xbox.
I'm mostly speaking to third party, but yes, for sure.
Like we saw it with Starfield at launch. Like, hey, well, this is our vision, right? Yeah, but then later, now we're getting all the optimization and priority everything on Series X and S, and now we're potentially going to see it with Avowed. We'll have to wait and see. We saw it with Redfall as well, like. Although Redfall was a mess on PC at launch too. So like that was just more of a broken, buggy mess. But with these games, like it's about taking the time to prioritize and optimize for the platform that you're preferring to develop for. And unfortunately in the industry, just because of the market position of the consoles itself, the amount of players, Xbox gets put on the back burner. Right? For the consoles. And that's just what they leave it as like, hey, like they don't like optimizing for it because it's like, why are we spending so much time optimizing and working on this when like we don't feel like the return is going to be worth it? But I think it's bullshit thought process, but that's kind of what they think, it's been kind of proven time and time again. I think overall though, once they take the right approach and they optimize it well, like many games have been optimized great out of the gate that have been like a Suicide Squad. Right, it was one of those games. Like obviously, a lot of people didn't like it for whatever reason, but man, 60 frames smooth as fucking butter out the gate at launch. And that
was surprising actually.
And not Eidos, but WB Montreal made Gotham Knights, like we said before. Like, hey, so this isn't possible, right? Both use Unreal, right? Both used open world, co-op, multiplayer,
very similar
games.
Situations. Play multiple characters, open world.
Like one was doing actually a lot more visually than the other, which was Suicide Squad as well. So like ultimately you look at it as like, okay, was it the developers that were more successful with optimizing their game? Or was like, whose fault is that? That, you know what I mean? So overall, like it's just a thing, it's a thing that I don't think is going to change. When everybody's hoping the PS5 Pro is going to help this situation. I've been saying if the PS5 Pro gets made, what's going to happen is the PS5 Pro is going to be out there. They're optimized for that. The Xbox gamers are still going to get the less optimized ports of the PS4 versions.
Either a less optimized version or some weird version of the PS5 Pro version.
Yeah. I'm thinking it would be more of the PS5 Pro version, only because they would have to share more of the same architecture and stuff like that. But I still have my doubts on this whole PS5. I think maybe Xbox may have showed their hand a little too soon, and now that's going to be the PS6. So look forward to the PS5 being the actual, or PS5 Pro being the PS6.
So
We're
also
not preparing. Yeah.
another thing.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, out of the doom and gloom people, there's tons of people that are just like, I'm abandoning ship. I'm never getting an Xbox. Like, fuck this. It fucked me. I'm fucking them. Screw it. I'm done. They hurt my feelings, right? None of that here, right? We're like I've said numerous times on multiple shows ever since this happened that this changes nothing for me. I personally don't give a shit that other people get to play games. Even if Avowed launches at 30 frames on Xbox, guess what? That's why I bought a PC, right? I think it's bullshit. I think they should optimize the games better, and I think they should make the priority of having good performance at launch on their games. However, still going to be happy playing Avowed. The game looks damn amazing, all this stuff. I think the Towerborn thing is stupid. I think game preview and PC and all that stuff should be Xbox because it's an Xbox game. I think that should be there. Like, I get the reasoning that the developers are saying and all that stuff. I think that Xbox should put their foot down and say, no, this is an Xbox game. Should be in game preview, not Steam early access, right? Whatever is fine. It's not going to change my perception of the game. I think it's bullshit that it was put to 2025 and they didn't ever really say anything about it being delayed on Xbox. And there's another game, Avowed, and then that now. Hey, whatever. It's fine. We got so much shit to play, right? I think Gamescom, they've done an amazing job, have had tons of games. A lot of them look incredible. I think they have the biggest presence. I thought they did a great job at opening night live with a lot of good looks at games and kind of dominating that whole showcase. I think it's amazing that they are the publisher, platform holder that is dominating the news cycle, that is actually putting forth the most effort to showcase all their games. I think all that's amazing. Ultimately, though, I also think that Xbox doesn't get enough credit for a lot of the pro-consumer things they always do and all these other kind of things. However, that does not put them above criticism when they fuck up and create the confusion and the narratives that are going on. It does not put them above critique. I am not thankful to companies and corporations to allow me to spend money in their ecosystem. Oh, thank you so much for giving me something to buy. I appreciate you. Oh my God, you're the best. I can't believe I get to spend money on your products, right? It is a fucking gift to me. Holy shit. I can't even believe this exists. Now, there's great things that get overlooked, and there's definitely a lot of damn double standards in the fucking industry when we talk about games media, how they talk about PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. That's where Xbox doesn't get enough credit. But when they create these situations and have the and more one thing moment and do that thing with the PS5, when they have these other kind of things that we talked about here, it creates this whole narrative. It creates all this. And that's what we have to talk about. And if you think people are whining by discussing these things and even just talking about them, if you can't stand to listen to people actually talk about these things when they happen, but yet, because you say that you can't stand to listen to people complaining about video games, yet you're so happy to listen to people complain and talk shit about PlayStation. You just are so happy. Hey, oh, this is great. I'm listening in. They're talking shit about PlayStation. This is my favorite thing. I'm going to sit here and tune in, right? It's great. Oh, wait, you said something bad about Xbox. You said that they did something that was confusing or messaging that was bad. Oh my God. What the fuck just happened? What am I watching? I gotta rip my fucking eyeballs out of my head. I gotta plug my ears. I gotta go to Twitter and say, oh, these guys are fucking fake now. Oh, they're flipping. Oh my God, how is this happening? That you can potentially even say something bad about this brand that I love with my soul. Come on. Really? We're fucking gamers that play video games that talk about this shit because we have opinions and notice things that are happening, right? And every single one of us will have different thoughts about these things. So if you actually care so much that you cannot listen to a negative or potentially a critique about something, you got to ask yourself this: why do you care more about that, your feelings about hearing something potentially negative about a company that you love, than the actual fucking games themselves?
Yep.
Like, really. So anyway, I've been saying this from the start. Anything that Xbox is doing right here has not changed a damn thing for me. I am going to be playing my games on Xbox consoles and sometimes on PC, right? And I'm going to be relishing in that and loving the fucking ecosystem because they're giving me way more value than any other brand, any other platform holder out there. And I am not going to sabotage or get rid of my own personal enjoyment or ruin my own personal experience out of the spite of feelings because they promoted the PlayStation at a showcase, right? I will buy the next fucking PlayStation probably if they have enough for me. I will definitely buy the next Xbox. I will buy the next Nintendo probably as well. And if I don't like them, I'll sell them like I did the fucking PlayStation and the Nintendo this generation. But I still got all my Xboxes, and there's a reason why.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, all right. Sorry, I had to say that.
No, it was great. That was good. Yeah, I
Great
mean,
points.
at the beginning of the show, we talked about PlayStation. Talked about what they need to shift in terms of strategy because they do not currently, in my opinion, do not know how to do live service games. Ripple that to Xbox. What they're doing great. They have a ton of games coming up the pipeline. One of the most important things, and then some of their business decisions lately. You're like, oh, you could have did that better, and that's what we talked about today. You know, that's what it is at the end of the day. But hey, a lot of games coming. Gamescom in general was awesome. Besides that, like there's a lot of things I'm personally interested in. Indiana Jones, Stalker 2 too. I keep forgetting about Stalker 2, but oh my gosh, that game is going to be not for everybody. If you don't like sort of strategy type games, like people, it's not Metro. It's not linear type of combat. It's pretty deep in its systems. At least in the first Stalker. Stalker 2 is probably going to follow that a little bit, but yeah, super interested in those games, and yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
Right on, man. Any final thoughts about this past week, Fuzz, or anything with Gamescom, or anything that stood out to you that you loved?
Just the total of games, like the actual roadmap, I think is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like
crazy.
overall, it's like we're at a point where if anything is to be critiqued on all of these platforms, I don't hear enough people saying, where is PlayStation going to show up? Where is their roadmap or anything along those lines? I mean, outside of what Xbox is providing for them, where are we going to get, Gran Turismo 8? Are we going to get a, what do you call it? Ghost of Tsushima 2 or maybe a Infamous 3 or something along those lines kind of deal? It just feels weird that they're kind of radio silent for the most part. Sure, they got the third party stuff going, but looking at like what Xbox has as far as third party, like the Berserker one, I mean, I even consider it still like Stalker 2 like third party, but that's an awesome couple games, and there's still a ton more. Like we got the 33 Immortals beta happening right now and stuff like that. So there's just so much that's, to the point where Game Pass every week has something that you either want to try or you got to, figure out some time to try kind of thing. But I think in the grand scheme of things now, my only gripe with Xbox is like sometimes you don't have to tell all of the truth. Like take a page from Sony, put it in the small print in the print ad later or something like that. Like what they did with Spider-Man. Oh, we believe in generations. Only possible on PS5. Also available on PS4. Start doing some of that stuff. Like I don't know. That's my only critique really at that point. But I just love what I saw as far as Starfield, and for that 7 out of 10 game that some critics gave it, it has got to be the most talked about 7 out of 10 game in the history of gaming kind of thing. And rightfully so. It's going to be one of those games 10 years from now. People are still going to be playing it much like they play Skyrim to this day. So I don't know. The fact that we got land vehicles now, Shattered Space is coming next month. They already, like, we kind of found out that they have a name registered for the next expansion kind of thing. So they're going to keep on doing these handcrafted things. All I have to ask is, what's Bethesda Online doing, and are they making Starfield MMO? and when can we do that kind of thing? But yeah, it's been awesome to see what Xbox is doing game wise. They are going to be the publisher of the year. I can't imagine another publisher having more top-notch games in the year of 2024 than them. So I think they won, what was that, 2021? So they'll have 2021, 2024. I mean,
probably
Rockstar
2025
too,
too.
25 and Grand Theft Auto. So I don't know if those
2K,
are big enough.
Like for multi-plat, like 2K 2025 is insane. GTA, Borderlands, and Mafia, and there's some other ones too. It's nuts.
Yeah, so it's going to be maybe a harder battle for Xbox in 2025 for that publisher title, but Take-Two, they're about the only other ones I can really see giving them a close run for the money. But I wouldn't be surprised if we hear an announcement that they're being acquired. No, I'm just kidding.
You know why? You know, the Xbox launching Indiana Jones in 2025 on PlayStation could actually help their case for Publisher of the Year.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
It's crazy to think, but like for 2025 they'll have Avowed. They will have the PlayStation release for Indiana Jones. They will have Fable, and they will have South of Midnight and Doom. Fuck, man. And that's all we know about right now. There's always a couple more that are added, right?
Yeah. Well, here's an oddball thought. With it being in December and Keighley announcing it and everything, do they still hold? Does he hold it out, or the Game Awards out long enough to include?
No, it'll be a
Indiana
candidate
Jones?
next year for the PlayStation version. This year it won't make the cut, but it'll be nominated next year because they'll consider the PlayStation version with that, as well as it missed the cut this year. So they should redo the dates for sure. But I think Indiana Jones has a chance to maybe win some awards at next year's Game Awards as well. But yeah, next year for Xbox, like this year's crazy. We still got Flight Sim. We still have Age of Mythology Retold, Ara, History Untold's launching on PC. I can't say Avowed anymore. I can't say Towerborn anymore. Strike, right? But yeah, Indiana Jones launching in December as well. Plus, what was my star of opening night live, my like highlight for that showcase was fucking the Call of Duty Black Ops campaign, man.
Yeah.
Oh god, it looked
that was
good.
surprising. I'm just now getting back into Call of Duty. I've been playing a lot of multiplayer lately. Call of Duty, a lot of screaming kids being like, "You get on noob." Yeah, a lot of that. So yeah, I've been really pumped into Call of Duty lately. So that was definitely surprising to me, single player wise. But they always been pretty good with their well, yeah, they always been pretty good with their single player campaigns, for the most part. Say what you want about them, but they're usually on a whole other level. But I'm looking forward to I said this on Pixelated Echoes. My most anticipated games right now is still Indiana Jones and also Stalker 2. Those are my top ones for sure. So yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Well, guys, this was a fun show. Yeah. A random question in the chat. Anonymous Boss says, "Hey Mav, have you ever broken any bones before?" I broke my foot when I was 20 years old. That sucked.
I've never broken any bones.
And last year, well, was it last year? It was the year before last. I think I broke my arm, or my right here, my forearm right here.
You think you broke your arm?
But I didn't ever do anything about it. I just got one of those splint things, you know, you put your arm in, and wore that. But I can still feel it feels funny sometimes. But I still could move my hand and stuff, so I felt like I didn't need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. I feel like I probably broke a bone, but
Yeah.
never checked it out. So
what
yeah,
happened?
I fell
with,
off a roof, so that
Oof,
happened.
yeah. Well, I've been in that business for roofing and construction, and yeah, there's had some scary moments there. But fall off a roof and you made it. That's good. You're here.
Yeah. And I was just like, whoa, did that just happen?
Yeah. With the arm thing, it was actually we got an above ground pool, right? I don't know if y'all remember this, but we got an above ground pool. We had it delivered, right? Well, the guy showed up a couple days early, and he showed up in the truck, and he had it on a pallet, and this is like 18-foot wide diameter pool in a box, like hundreds of pounds, right? And he showed up early, so the cars weren't moved out of the driveway, and so he just showed up. He rang the doorbell. I was up here. I was like, who is that? I checked my phone. I run down. By the time I get downstairs, he'd already unloaded the pool, put it on the back of the driveway behind the cars, and got in his truck and started driving off. I tried to stop him down. He just kept driving. So I had this on an incline on my driveway at the end behind my cars, which now I can't move the fucking cars because the thing's blocking the fucking cars. This hundreds of pound massive box on a pallet. And I'm like, fuck am I supposed to do? Right? So I'm thinking to myself, well, the smart thing for me to do is try and get it on a dolly. Right? So that way I can, get it through the house or something or whatever. So I get behind it. I'm on an incline. I start leveraging it. Right? Well, what happens is I end up picking it up to the point where I start getting it on it. But then the weight of it was so much that it actually like pushed me over and fell down. And then the pallet, my arm went under the pool box in the pallet, like in between the slats of the pallet. Mm-hmm. And it just sat there and like crushed my arm. I was like stuck. Yeah. So managed to somehow leverage the dolly again to kind of get out of it. And then I looked at it. I thought my arm was going to be like sideways, but it wasn't. It just hurt like hell.
Prince said it's probably a sprain, man, not a broken foot.
Yeah, I don't know. It was crazy. It was fucking so much. It hurt so much, but I could still move it. And it didn't look weird. Just looked swollen. Yeah. So I just went outside and finished the job.
Ow.
Just rub some dirt on it. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy though. I never had like an arm injury that hurt like that before. But I thought it was probably broken. I think I broke a toe before too. Didn't do anything about it. But yeah, I broke foot. That was the one I had to go to the doctor and get booed. Long story. Sorry, guys.
I only have a few breaks. Foot broke I got a stress fracture in my foot from basic training. Hopped off the top rack. Getting used to being in basic training where they wake you up by the lights, and if you're not up by the lights, like within seconds, there's trash cans flying at your head or whatever. So I just remember hopping off the rack, landing on my foot, and I guess I landed wrong and stress fracture. It didn't really hurt that much, except for standing for a long period of time, which you got to do in basic. But I didn't know about it until I went to AIT, and they checked my foot because I'm like, yeah, it's giving me a problem. It's not swollen or anything. It just hurts sometimes. Gotta hold it sideways. And they're like, oh, yeah, it looks like your stress fracture is healing. I was like, my stress what? And then broke my wrist. Now, I guess it was about like 6 years ago. Airbag. Kid ran over the double yellow line into my front driver's side tire. The airbag popped. Broke the watch on the one wrist and broke the wrist on the other side. And didn't realize it until I had a hard time getting my wallet out of my pocket, which I'm like, why the hell does this hurt? And they're like, oh, yeah, you should probably get an x-ray. I'm like, okay. Oh, yeah, it's broken. Awesome. And then that's a whole nother story for another time. And then my most recent one, after having that broken wrist, I damaged my kneecap. Didn't break it, just I think it was more of a torn ligament, but they were saying there were like bone chips in it or something. So yeah, I don't know. Getting old, falling apart.
Yeah, that happens. You're gonna get there, 3-bit. You'll get there one day. You'll have your broken stuff. because you're gonna
I'm
start having to
surprised
do.
I haven't already.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
to do all the shit around the house now and stuff. You know, and you have your accident.
Yeah, I almost fell through the roof like not even that long ago.
Yeah, I remember you
Um,
said your foot went through the ceiling.
yeah, yeah. I was trying to set up my my wire to go from my PC just to have. I still haven't done it because I don't know. I'm too lazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I almost fell through the roof. Yeah, but I'm sure I'll have more incidents in the future. But right now I'm immortal. Nothing
Looking
can
forward to
take
it.
me down.
You've
Yeah.
had actually more shit happen to your house and around your house than I think. Like, people run into your light pole outside, and
That was live.
yeah, we were
That was
on
on one of our
we
shows.
were on a fucking podcast, and somebody ran into this like pole right in front of his house. So they had the cops and stuff knocking on his door.
Yeah, that was
3-Bit
crazy.
thought he was there. They were there for his warrants, but it wasn't that. No, I'm just kidding.
It was just crazy because the way my that was my old house. The way it was set up is like the light pole, it's like a big street too. So it's like a big street and then there's the light pole which is totally out of the way. Like you have to really fight to get to that light pole. You have to go over the curb and then go on grass and then you hit the light pole which is kind of near an electrical box. And then somehow out of every single house, every single light pole, yeah, just went straight for that one somehow. That's crazy. And that happened I don't know what episode that was, but if you guys are interested
I
somewhere,
think it was the
that happened.
FSP or Fun Pop. I can't remember for sure. Jasper had somebody
yeah.
drive a truck through his house.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that was crazy. Yeah.
This is about the crazy shit like this that happens, and it's like
Yeah.
that's anyway.
Same.
Everybody, this has been fun as hell. You rock, chat. Thanks for allowing us to bullshit for the last 10, 15 minutes or whatever. But I hope you all had a good night and enjoyed the show. Lots of awesome Xbox stuff, lots of interesting conversations. But yeah, we'll still be here with Xbox Ultimate talking Xbox for years to come because I don't plan on quitting. I ain't selling my Xboxes unless I upgrade them to the next one. But yeah, 3-Bit. Tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Everyone can find me on Twitter at i3bits, where you find my rants, my I work with different brands like Auto Trader. You'll start to see a lot of the ads I worked on with Auto Trader probably next week. It's going through approval and stuff like that. And then my work with Aflac. Oh yeah, my work with Aflac is actually it got approved from Dion and the Saban team. So I'm actually really excited for people to see that one because it's just really funny. So I will post that on my Twitter if you guys like ads for whatever. If you like Deion Sanders and Coach Saban. It's been awesome working on that brand. So besides that, you guys can follow me on Twitter. I3bit. Me and Fuzzy do pixelated echoes every Sunday. So that's gonna be really awesome. And then I'm on FSP every Monday on this channel, and then make the occasional appearance on Xbox Ultimate when I can. Today, I just finished Game of Thrones, and so I was like, "Hey, let me jump on an Ultimate. I got some time." So, awesome! You guys are in your chat. Everybody in chat, appreciate y'all. I see you all around on all of our different channels, and you always give like great support and love y'all. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, 3-Bit. Thanks for being here. It's fun tonight, man. Fuzzy Belvedere. Where can everybody find the million shows that you're on with your rambles and rants?
Oh, this was awesome tonight. Always a good time to be with you guys. Even if I go off on a tangent on stuff, but yeah, for the most part, greatly appreciate just hanging out with you guys, talking, gaming, and everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for coming out and listening to us and spending time interacting with us and everything. We greatly appreciate it. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on the Shop Podcast tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel, and Pixelated Echoes, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday with 3-Bit on Pixelated Echo YouTube channel. And then right back here, Monday evening, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for FSP. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks again.
Thanks, Fuzz. Appreciate you, man. Everybody, chat, you rock. Thanks for all the support always here on the Fun Speculation Network, as Fuzzy calls it, and for all of the shows we do. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll do a stream this weekend. We'll see the end of Bardu's college career. But yeah, take it easy, guys. We'll be back for FSP Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for sure. Peace out.
Bye.